This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Dale Alexandra, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, the entire state of Utah, over there at in Tribly, Florida. Good morning over in Tribly for sure. Good morning up in Tallahassee as well. This is Alex Snicker, co-host, Liberty Underground, along with me. Part of a vast and wild conspiracy, working with extreme organizations that are attacking state senators left and right.
Yes.
Danielle Alexandre, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
Feeling well?
I am. I'm feeling well.
On the other side of the mic, controlling the show as best as he can. Well, I wouldn't really call it controlling the show, to be honest with you, because, you know,
there's no controlling these people.
There's no controlling the show. A person who's not Lease Wheel. It's not Gretchen Carlson. His name is Greg Bowen. Greg, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Do you know why I said Lease Wheel and Gretchen Carlson?
Not at all.
Because they're on my Facebook page.
Oh.
I don't know why. I'm starting to really not like Facebook, just because of the recommendations.
I know the feeling. It drives me nuts.
I get jolly recommendations. I'm really starting to get irritated with this. Like, I don't know how many times I have to list it as spam in order to not get it. Or you figured they'd get the clue, you know?
Right. Like, at some point, it'd be like, hey, he may not like that person.
Yeah, right? Like, I may not be a fan of that person. So, I mean, I got no problem with the University of Phoenix or, you know, Infusionsoft or Udemy, but I got a problem with, I have a problem with David Jolly.
I have lots of problems with David
You have lots of problems with David Jolly.
One or two.
There's not just one. There's many
There's
problems.
many problems that I have with David Jolly.
Yeah. But you know what, though? Today, we got bigger fish to fry.
Yes, my issue is far surpassed by my issues with some other person.
Yes. So, instead of trying to say that we're going to wait a while in order to go through this story, we're just going to go ahead and go through the story right now. Now, and truth be told, we could have started the show in two different ways.
Yes, we were, and right up to the last minute, we were checking emails to see which way we were going to be talking about this story this morning.
Yes. Now, and as it stands right now, just to make sure that we're very clear on this,
I'm going to check again.
Check again, just to make sure. Please check again, because I want to make sure that we're, that we're okay with this. I wouldn't want to be inaccurate.
Right.
Unlike Marion Hammer. So, and if you don't know who Marion Hammer is, she's the state chair of the NRA. And she's a woman that, in all honesty, thinks that you shouldn't go up there to talk about the Second Amendment unless you bow down to her first. So, but we're checking something just to make sure that we're seeing if we have a Senate sponsor on the Second Amendment Preservation Act.
Right there. Let's hit search.
Where are we looking at so far, Danielle?
I got...
We're giving you all the time. By the way, if you'd like to call the program, 1-800-525-4032, 1-800-525-4032. And if anybody from Wilton Simpson's office would like to call and say that you've now agreed to sponsor the Second Amendment Preservation Act, then I am all ears.
And let's see, he is sponsoring a lot of bills. So
He sure is sponsoring a whole lot of bills, though.
None of them.
None of them on the Second Amendment Preservation Act, huh?
No.
Curious. All right, so at any rate, let's tell the story.
Okay.
Because you offered an opportunity in order to fix this thing yourself there, Senator, and you decided that I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to listen to the NRA. So you go ahead and you listen to that NRA. You worry about their stick instead of mine. So here's what happened. If you're not aware, there is a bill, HB 733, right?
Yes.
HB 733 is the Second Amendment Preservation Act. If you're unaware of what the Second Amendment Preservation Act is, what it does is it codifies into law. Is that a right way of saying it?
Yes.
Okay. It codifies into law something that was signed last year by the state legislature.
As a memorial.
As a memorial. And memorials don't mean anything. They don't do anything.
They're useless.
Yeah. For all intents and purposes, they're useless. But in this Second Amendment Preservation Act, what it basically says is that no federal or no state money will be spent to enforce federal gun regulations.
Yes.
Is that? Am I missing anything there?
It's actually a very short bill. It's only a few pages, and the gist of it is basically it's adding a provision into the law that restates the Second Amendment, basically saying that, as the state of Florida, we believe in the Second Amendment. And then it goes on to say that because it says this, and that the Second Amendment is a restriction on the federal government, that no state funds can be expended at any level. So any money that comes from Florida taxpayer into a Florida governmental agency cannot be spent to assist the federal government in any way if it would be an infringement on your Second Amendment rights.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, too. This stops all of them. Not just good ones and not just bad ones. So if you happen to think that there's any good federal regulation, it stops that. It stops the enforcement of that. From the state,
from the federal government,
from the state government.
Yeah, and this would be, and this is what people have to understand. I don't know what good legislation can come out at the federal level, because it specifically states we cannot spend state money at any level on anything that would infringe on your Second Amendment rights. If it's a federal law. So if it's a federal law that would infringe on your Second Amendment rights, I'm unsure which one of those we'd actually consider to be good.
Correct. However, now let me say this, though. Let me say this. If the state of Florida thought something was a good idea, then they could do something about it if they chose to.
Yes.
Just as long as they're not.
They just can't assist the federal government.
Yeah.
This does not mean that we can't have gun restrictions. It just means that anything that would restrict guns in any way would have to be done at a state and local level instead of federal infringement.
All right. So with that being said, on, what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday?
I believe that would have been.
Maybe it was Tuesday.
I'm going to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that it was Tuesday. But I'm going to look up just to make sure.
February 25th is when it was. So is that Tuesday?
That would have been Tuesday.
All right. So February 25th. 10th Amendment Center, truth be told, sends out an action alert saying to that we still don't have a sponsor on the Senate side. What happens is that you got to have a House sponsor, a Senate sponsor, and they both got the identical legislation has to be put forward.
Right. And
so you need both. Now, the one thing that happened is that this bill did make it in bill drafting because of
Senator Greg Evers. What happened is you have to have, and this is some of those little nuances in how a bill becomes a law that people don't realize. To make a bill a law, you actually have to submit it to what's called bill drafting. Bill drafting takes yours and actually puts it into the format that's correct. But the deadline to get something into bill drafting is January 24th. Even though the session starts on Tuesday, which would be March 4th, if you didn't have any new ideas into bill drafting by January 24th, it wasn't going to happen this session. There's no way to get a bill drafting number. There's no way to get anything done. The deadline was January 24th. Knowing that, because this isn't the first time anyone that was working on this has done this.
Because this ain't our first rodeo.
They dig, and now
pardon the Triply pun.
Only members, which a member would be your House representative or your senator, they're the only ones that can submit a bill into bill drafting. Now, Senator Greg Evers, who had said from the beginning that he would not sponsor the bill, but didn't want us to run out of time to get a sponsor, submitted it to bill drafting in time.
Yeah, exactly. So he submitted it into bill drafting, and we're all good. So we get to Wednesday. Now, Wednesday, we still don't have a sponsor for this bill because everybody up, all the state senators in Tallahassee fear the NRA. And the NRA, who did not specifically put something out in opposition to this bill, has, and now they claim, and she claims that she has not gone to senators, and she was very specific on the phone, so she did not call senators specifically to talk to them about this bill. However,
I have seen a few emails.
Yes.
That she put out as a warning against the bill.
Yes.
She basically in some emails has said, and this is just general emails, has basically said, while we're not taking a position for or against the legislation, we just wanted you to know that there could be some unintended consequences of passing this legislation. And there was some other warnings, even though the NRA officially was not taking a position.
Yeah. So what the action alert said to do was two things. The first one was to email all of the senators.
The state senators.
State senators. So I sent an email to the Liberty Action Center, which is 10th Amendment Center has, to all the state senators, basically saying that we are looking for a co-sponsor for this bill.
It's basically a form letter that they have, and you can just hit send.
Yeah. Pretty easy. The second thing that they want you to do is to call your state senator.
Just the one that represents you.
Just the one that represents you. Now, I have the unfortunate pleasure of being in the district that currently is represented by one Senator, Wilton. I like to buy politicians like other people like to buy cars, Simpson.
We're not fans.
Fans.
And we've never actually said that we were. We've been very much, when things have come out in the news, we've reported on them. We've reported on them accurately. But we have not been fans of Senator Simpson's.
Correct. However, I kind of figured, or I thought, for whatever reason, I don't know. Honestly, I didn't think I had as much. We
honestly didn't think he knew who we were. He didn't know who I was.
I knew that he knew.
I knew that he knew, but I didn't know that would be down to staff level.
Yeah, I didn't think that the chiefs of staffs and stuff had conversations that revolved around me.
Right.
I find out now that's not the case. But let's get back to the
digress.
story. But I digress. So I call the local office for my state senator as a constituent, and
not as a radio host,
yes.
Not in conjunction with being an organization leader, just a constituent calling the person who represents them,
which I thought I was allowed to do.
I still think you're allowed to do it.
I tend to find now that that is frowned upon in Tallahassee.
Yes.
So I call Senator Wilton Simpson's office, and what I say is, my name is Alex Snicker. I'm at 5120. I give my
address.
I give my address.
Don't give it out over the air.
I guess we're not going to give it out over the air. So I said, here's my name, here's my address. I'm calling to see if the senator is going to sponsor to put forward the Second Amendment Preservation Act. And truth be told, I'm kind of reading off what the 10th Amendment Senator had written there. And it's very benign. It's asking, are you going to be a sponsor on this bill? Will you bring the bill forward? And she's like, well, and the lady on the phone says, I don't know. She's the local lady.
She's a phone answerer.
And was very nice, by the way. That woman was very nice on the phone. She probably didn't know who I was.
She probably is used to constituent services where, you call up and say, I'm having a problem with this, and she will either tell you whether that is something the state senator can handle or whether it's not, and to put you in the right direction. She probably does not answer very specific questions very often.
And by the way, I did get another ad of Jeb Stands with Jolly. Just saying.
Okay. Mark it as spam.
But I am going to mark it as spam here in a second. Okay, she says to call the Tallahassee office and talk to a woman by the name of Rachel, who is Senator Wilton Simpson's chief of staff. So I call up and I say, I'm looking for Rachel. They connect me to Rachel. And I say, my name is Alex Snicker. I'm at my address. And
you almost did it again.
I almost did it again. Well, because I'm trying to make it a point that I used my address.
Very accurate.
If I said, this is Alex Snicker, co-host Libertarian or Vice Chair Libertarian Party of Florida, or co-host Liberty Underground Show, then I would have been calling in that capacity. When I give my address, I am calling my capacity as a constituent. And I'm trying to identify where I live so you know that I'm a constituent.
So they can verify it.
Yes.
And so I asked Rachel, I go, look, Rachel, I'm trying to find out if the senator would be willing to sponsor the Second Amendment Preservation Act and get it to the floor. And she's like, well, nobody from the House side has contacted us about this bill and yada, yada, yada. And it was given an excuse. And I go, hang on a second. We can stop right now. I said, look, I know that it's already in bill draft. All you have to do is go and pick it up. You don't need anybody to contact you to do this. So why aren't you guys signing on to this bill? So now I'm just asking. Just give me the real reason. He's
actually really calm because he's just like, listen, I just want to know the reason because Wilton Simpson's my state senator.
Yeah, hold on. And let me say it like this, too. I have a reputation that precedes me. And that reputation is that I am very rude, and very loud, and very boisterous, and cursing, and yelling, and screaming over the phone, in person, in general in life.
And I'm the first person to get angry with him when he does that.
And that reputation is deserved. Let me just say that.
Yes.
However, for this phone call, that was not the case.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't going to let her feed me a line of crap either. And I said, look, man, we got to get past this. I already know about this stuff. I'm trying to let her know that I'm somebody that is in the know, at least when it comes to, but not say, do you know who I am? I'm giving you the data and the facts that back up that I know what you guys can do right now. And it ain't because of me. It's because it's in bill draft. I couldn't put it there. It had to be a state senator that put it there.
Yeah, he basically said, listen, I get what you're saying, but I know that the bill is in bill drafting. I'm not just your regular constituent. I know that the bill is in bill drafting, and I'm really just looking to see if the senator is going to support it or not. And that was it.
And I didn't think he was going to, by the way. If she just said, no, he's not going to do it at this time, I just said, okay, thank you for your time. Have a good day. And
but
just
that's not what happened.
That is not what happened. So Rachel says, wow, it's definitely not going to get signed when people like you are, or it's not going to help when people, let me make sure I say things correctly. I wouldn't want to get sued. So I say,
she said, you didn't say it. You actually didn't say it. What she said was, it's certainly not going to help get a sponsor for the bill when people like you are calling.
Yeah, that's what she said.
And so, Alex said.
And I said, well, do you know who I am?
And she goes, oh, I know exactly who you are, and you're lucky the senator didn't sue you after what you said about him on the radio.
That's what she did. That is what she said.
Because I could hear it. I could hear the phone. She was loud enough, whereas he was on the phone. I could hear what she was saying.
Now, I'm still in a good mood at this point, though.
He's like laughing.
I'm halfway flattered that they knew who I was. I'm even more flattered that you watched the show talking about how you buy politicians like most of us buy cars.
Please watch more so you can learn something.
Yeah, I wish they'd pick up some of the good stuff we talk about. It'd be nice. So what happened is that she says this, and I go, what are you talking about? What lie do you think that I said, right?
And then he goes, you mean Will Weatherford working for him? That's the truth.
Exactly. Click.
She hung up.
Hung up at that point, right? So I call back 20 times.
And she just picks up and hangs up.
And just picks up and hangs up all 20 times. I don't get to say another word to this woman.
As a constituent
the rest of the time.
And she's tacitly threatened to sue, or said at least some, she's basically said we should feel lucky that we haven't been sued.
Yes, litigation has been mentioned.
Right. Now, yeah.
That's a good way of saying it. Litigation has been mentioned. So I'm like, and you got to understand too that, look, I know that there's people that fear politicians and don't want to call them out maybe publicly, or that don't want to rock the boat.
You're not those people.
I'm not one of those people. If you tell me to not talk about you, or you're lucky you didn't get sued, know that you're going to get brought up every week.
Now, a few minutes later, it was probably about 10 minutes later, I said, I'm going to give it a little time, and I'm going to call. But I am going to call in my official capacity as the legislative committee chair of the Libertarian Party of Florida, just trying to see where my state senator, just be a little more professional, not even as a constituent. Okay, he wouldn't answer for a constituent, but I'm calling in an official capacity, and I called literally just saying, I'd just like to know where the senator stands on the companion bill to HB 733 of my legislative committee. This is something that has been brought up in my legislative committee. I'm the legislative committee chair for the Libertarian Party of Florida, and I'd just like to see where my state senator stands so that I can update our records.
Yeah.
And I got told, I don't know, you're going to have to talk to someone else. Click.
Wow.
So this is, and again, these people, they know who we are. So I wrote, this is what I did. This is all I did, by the way, on my personal Facebook page.
Now I asked him, are we going to talk about this on Friday?
And I said yes.
Yes.
And I said yes. Okay. But nobody knows that because we didn't go on air until now.
Right.
So it's not like anybody knew that, and this is important. Nobody knew this ahead of time. So on So what happened was, I did go on one radio show. I do have to take that back. I did go on one other radio show.
But we didn't know that we didn't know that when we called. So it's not like we were calling up saying, I'm going to talk about this on the show.
No, not at all. I was doing honestly, they need a sponsor on the bill on the Senate side. And I figured as a constituent and as a person in the center, I do my part to help out.
Right. We have friends that, are with the 10th Amendment Center, but certainly we're not
good friends.
Good friends. Very good friends that are with the 10th Amendment Center.
I consider that organization an ally.
Yes. There are things that as the party, as individuals, we do work with them on, but we don't have the authority to speak for them or, we are in no way officials. It's just a very friendly organization with people who are friends of ours. And
I like Seco.
I actually because of this bill and because of some of the people involved in it, I've actually kept it pretty much at arm's length, kind of seeing where it was going to go, because obviously I'm a polarizing person. I didn't want that to affect the bill. It's a polarizing bill. I'm working with other organizations on other bills, and they're two very different subjects, so I didn't want anyone to hold either against the other.
Correct.
So I've kept this bill literally at arm's length.
Now here's what I wrote. And this is I'm reading to you what I wrote.
What he posted on Facebook.
What I post, and all I did was post this on Facebook. I didn't do anything other than that. Just so you know, I just called Senator Wilton Simpson's office up in Tallahassee to ask him to support and sponsor a companion bill for House Bill 733, sponsored by Representative Dane Eagle, HB 733, the Florida Second Amendment Preservation Act. Rachel, his chief of staff, said that he will not put up a companion bill. I also found out that they listened to the show and that they were not very happy with me. She hung up on me, and whenever I called back, she hung up on me. They were not happy at all that I went on air to tell people that Will Weatherford is on his payroll. She said that I was lucky I was not sued for talking about Wilton Simpson. Typical, and this is probably the part that people don't like, typical from this despicable politician and his horrible staff. Well, it is clear now that Wilton Simpson does not, big uppercases there, capitalized, support the Second Amendment. He is up for election in 2014, but as of now, there is not a challenger. Let's find someone to get this politician out. And if they did not like me talking about Wilton Simpson before, they will hate Friday's show and every show moving forward.
Now, that's not all that was said, though, because I actually saying, wow, this is a good opportunity to promote our show, because we are radio hosts and we do try to promote the show. So when you have controversy, that tends to draw people in. I posted on the Liberty Underground show because I asked first, are we going to talk about this? Because sometimes we don't. He said yes. He posted about his own experience, and I said, you know what? We're going to talk about it on the show. Let's promote it a little during the week. That's always a good thing for radio hosts. That's what radio hosts do. So yeah. I wrote, this Friday, hear how Wilton Simpson not only does not support the Second Amendment, but refuses to speak to his own constituents. We have news for Senator Simpson. He works for us, not the other way around. This will be a great show. If you would like to call Senator Simpson and get answers as to why he refuses to speak to constituents or support the Second Amendment, call 850-487-5018. You can still call, actually.
Yes. But matter of fact, that number again is 850-487-5018.
And this was just, and we've done this when we've had run-ins with the police or run-ins with other officials. We do tend to, in the middle of the week, say, hey, this is what happened. I'm not going to tell you all about it now. Listen to the show.
Tease it.
Because that's what radio promotion is all about.
And we don't even do that good of a job of it.
We actually don't do that good of a job of it.
Again, this is on my personal Facebook page.
And this was on, and I posted on the Liberty Underground show and kind of put it out into a couple groups that were libertarians.
But that's it, though. So it wasn't very much, by the way. It wasn't this grand conspiracy, right? So what happened is that night,
I did actually post another one a few hours later because I was still kind of mad, like, how dare you say you would sue us? So we found the old show, the show that we did, the only show that we mentioned Wilton Simpson.
See, I think we've mentioned his name in other ones, but we just weren't specific like we did in this
one.
one.
I think we've basically said our state senator, Wilton Simpson, isn't going to support that or something like that. I mean, but not that we've actually talked about him and his job in office.
I think that we've also done a show where we were talking about the establishment, and I think that we mentioned his name then when we gave a story. I think we've done it more than once.
Well,
this is the one
this is the one that they're talking. I mean,
she wouldn't answer the question, so how the hell do we know?
We went in depth about. I mean, the only show that we have that's tagged with Wilton Simpson is this one.
Yeah.
So
not today's too, but
today's too. But so the only one where we felt it was important enough to tag him on YouTube was this one show. So I said, Rachel at Senator Wilton Simpson's office in Tallahassee told Alex we were lucky that the senator didn't sue us after what we said about him on the radio. Do you think she may have been talking about this show? And I linked the show. If we had said anything that was untrue, Wilton Simpson and his employee, Will Weatherford, would have sued us already. They didn't because they have nothing. They also would have had to sue the Miami Herald, Tampa Bay Times, and every other news outlet that reported on the hard to define or explain relationship between the two. Because what we were talking about is how Will Weatherford works for Wilton Simpson and nobody knows what he does.
Not even Will
Not
Weatherford.
even Will Weatherford or Wilton Simpson.
Well, he uses like the Smurf word, like consultant.
That's Smurfy.
I'm a consultant. I'm consulting.
What do you consult? With lots of things. So, and this was not reported. This wasn't like breaking news for the Liberty Underground. This was in every newspaper around the state.
Yeah, and it was one part of a 4-part series that was talking about corruption in politics.
Right. So, and I did put, we have 2 words for them. Bring it. Which is, if anyone listens to the show, we say that to every government agency everywhere.
Sometimes live on the air.
Sometimes live on the air with them on the phone.
Don't sing it, bring it.
Yeah. So I get a couple phone calls that night, and I'm going to leave all the names of those people anonymous because they're private citizens. Mm-hmm. But those citizens were not necessarily happy with the way it went down, and they wanted to get an explanation from us on that, and we gave them the explanation of exactly what happened, and gave them the good with the bad. Honestly, told the story accurately, and didn't tell them to call Wilton Simpson.
No, just said, this is what happened.
That one point of, if you'd like to call Senator Simpson to get answers, that was just something we put up there on Facebook, but when I talked to anybody on the phone, we didn't say that. Right. So some of those people that called knew who Wilton Simpson was. Some better than others. Now, come to find out tomorrow or the next day that was it the next day? Or was it 2 days?
No. It was the next day. It was that happened on Tuesday. On Wednesday is when we started getting calls from other people. And one of the calls was to tell us about an email sent out by Marion Hammer of the NRA.
Yeah, and that was actually sent out Wednesday, February 26th at 8:35 a.m.
Literally not even, it's like 20 hours after we've had this run-in with Wilton Simpson and about 16 hours after we've posted about it.
Yeah. So, and read, and what I want you to do to make sure that we're saying it completely accurately. Because
someone sent me the email, so I screenshotted it.
Because I wouldn't get an NRA email because I didn't like the NRA before. So go ahead and read exactly what this email says.
This says, to USF and NRA members and friends from Marion P. Hammer, USF Executive Director, NRA past president. This is, and the top in red letters says alert. Is Senator Wilton Simpson a Second Amendment friend or foe? So now it goes into, first, let me answer that question. Senator Wilton Simpson, Republican of Trilby, is a strong, dedicated supporter of the Second Amendment. He is committed to protecting your right to keep and bear arms and your right of self-defense. He definitely is a Second Amendment friend. So they mention now Wilton Simpson twice in this email, less than 24 hours after we've posted our issue with Wilton Simpson.
And here's the thing. And the NRA can prove me wrong if they want to. You tell me one place publicly, other than what I've written, where where Senator Simpson has even been discussed
or
mentioned as it relates towards this bill. I was nice to Marion Hammer on the phone. I was very nice, very cordial, and very. No, I just want to make sure I say this: is that they don't have any place that they can prove that anybody else other than me and Danielle put anything out.
So then it goes on to say, those who say otherwise, which is just me and Alex, are attempting to mislead you. No, we're not. We've told you the story.
Truth.
Groups who are promoting a piece of legislation produced and being pushed by an organization based in California. And just let me stop there. The 10th Amendment Center is based in California.
Yeah.
are attacking senators and representatives who won't sponsor or co-sponsor a bill that will cause some serious negative consequences.
Now, remember, we explained the bill earlier. We explained exactly what it does. The negative consequences. What are the negative consequences of this bill?
I haven't found any yet.
That the federal government doesn't get more power.
Right. The federal government cannot infringe on Second Amendment rights.
Yes. And somehow
in Florida,
that's negative consequences.
So,
which we'll get into why that in a little while, but go ahead.
It says, ask yourself why organizations that traditionally have nothing to do with the Second Amendment are suddenly claiming they are protecting the Second Amendment, which they disrespectfully call the 2A.
Now, here's the thing. Is that what you're starting to see here is if anybody else other than the NRA wants to go up to Tallahassee to try to protect the Second Amendment because this organization has failed to do so, because they are failing to do so unless they can make a buck off of it, are somehow offended that we would go up there to talk to our representatives I called my representative, I'm a constituent. And because I made that phone call, Marion Hammer had to put out an email. Go ahead.
Why are they claiming to be patriots, but are engaged in bullying legislators who are skeptical of the legality and ramifications of their proposed legislation? Number one, we were not told a reason why Wilton Simpson wasn't supporting it. We were told that there wasn't anything that he could support. That is a big difference. And nobody was bullying him. We were a constituent asking if he was going to support it or not. And when we were blown off and acted rudely to, we assumed he did not support it. And if you don't support this bill, to me, as your constituent, I don't believe you support the Second Amendment.
Correct.
Wait, you're a constituent trying to hold your elected representative accountable? You must be a bully.
Look, hold on the thing though, and let's talk about bullies here for a second.
By the way, I'm not done.
Let her finish.
Okay, go ahead and finish.
If your cause is righteous, why would you threaten, bully, and try to trash the reputation of good people who may agree with your expressed cause but disagree with your solution and tactics?
None of that was told, by the way.
Let me tell you something. We were treated like we were actually threatened with possible litigation because we called our representative.
And I wasn't yelling and screaming, by the way. I was in a good mood.
Who was bullying who?
Exactly.
Rest assured, the Florida legislature has many strong Second Amendment supporters, and for people calling themselves patriots, she's basically saying we're not patriotic, to criticize and bully them and claim otherwise belies their intent. Senator
belies.
Belies, yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
I got to correct you on a word.
You
I'm so
did.
happy.
Sorry. This is small print.
The world is upside down.
I don't have my glasses on. Senator Simpson is not the only legislator being bullied, but he's the only one we talked to. The only one we named. And we're the only ones that named him. He's just the latest. Consider the source.
Hard to consider the source when you don't actually write people's names on there, which you did on purpose.
Right.
The other thing is this. How ripe is it that NRA is going to say that other organizations are bullied when every politician in Tallahassee is scared of you?
Exactly.
Seriously.
And we've been told that.
And
by former and current politicians.
Yes, and considering that the NRA doesn't support the Second Amendment Preservation Act, the NRA doesn't support the Second Amendment unless they can make a buck off of it.
In my opinion.
So I found out about this email, and I didn't read it first. I found out about the email.
I just gave you the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, you gave me the Cliff Notes. So I called the NRA. As soon as I got back to the house, I called the NRA, and I called the state headquarters for the NRA, and I said, I'd like to speak to Marion Hammer. And they're like, who is this? I'm like, well, this is Alex Snicker. And she's like, what is it regarding? And I said, well, I'm responding to her, to the email that she had sent out about me. So I called Marion Hammer, and I said, this is Alex Snicker. I figured since you put an email out, I figured we'd have a conversation. Now, again, I was being nice. She started off right off the bat defensive, but don't get me wrong, I'm saying exactly what she did. So I'm saying, you put out an email about me, I figured we should have a conversation. And then she gets into a pissing contest, and she doesn't like the word pissing, by the way. Hates that word. Don't say pissing on the phone. I'm a lady.
Which
Wait.
Yeah.
If this is a lady writing emails like this that is ridiculed with misinformation, I'm questioning.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that. I don't know that. I'm just going to go ahead and say that as it stands right now. So I talked
She
to Marion.
claims she's a lady.
Credentials as a lady are in question.
So I saw the I talked to her on the phone, and and again, I was very submissive on the call. I was very
unlike Alex.
Yeah, I was like, look, tell me why you don't like this bill. What's wrong with what problem you got with the bill? Well, we never came out against it, and I'm like, well, you don't like it though. Well, it has unintended consequences and stuff like. I'm like, well, what are they? She's like, well, it would by all of the federal regulations, not just the good ones, but it would stop the good ones as well as the bad ones. And I'm like, so your problem is that you think that the federal government should actually be able to dictate this. Well, we're a national organization, so we go to Washington, D.C. and lobby for good legislation. And she mentioned something about a concealed carry bill that they're
reciprocity.
trying to. Yeah. Her argument for this, or the piece of legislation she's talking about, is one that would allow you as a Second Amendment, if you have a concealed carry permit in one state, that concealed carry permit would be good in all 50 states.
Right. It's a reciprocity bill. But let me just lay something on Marion Hammer. If you actually believed in not infringing on people's right to bear arms, you wouldn't care about reciprocity. You would be getting rid of concealed weapon carry permits altogether because that's an infringement. But the fact that the NRA makes all of its money on giving the classes for the concealed weapons carry permit, you're not going to do that. So don't tell me about good legislation, because it's not good for the people. It's good for the NRA, because that's how you make money.
Yeah, and it's not good for the members of the NRA either, because they got to fork over more money to you. But at any rate, so she sends this email out to everybody. Now, not only does she send it out to everybody, she gives it to all the senators as well, which gives them the cover that they need in order to make sure that they don't sign on to this bill.
Because now when we start calling state senators, we're literally getting the lines verbatim from the email that she sent out.
But we bully people.
Yes.
Yeah. So I hang up the phone with Marion. I go, well, Marion, and we go back and forth for a little while. And again, now one thing that Marion was saying on the phone, and this is just my opinion from the conversation that I had with Marion, that I think I understand why the NRA is upset, or why Marion Hammer's upset, because she said on numerous occasions during the phone call that she has been up there for 40 years, and you people coming up here now basically don't have the respect that you need in order to just listen to her, kiss her ring, which she didn't say kiss the ring on the phone though, kiss her ring, and make sure that we're going with whatever the NRA says that we should be doing as it relates towards the Second Amendment, because for some reason, Marion Hammer and the NRA think they have a monopoly on the Second Amendment in Tallahassee.
Or nationally. And again, let's state what the NRA's claim is when it comes to Second Amendment. We look at Second Amendment as no one should have their right to bear arm infringed on in any way at all. You should be able to carry a weapon when you so choose, because that is your right as a citizen.
Yeah, everybody's got a concealed weapons permit. It's called the Second Amendment.
Right. You don't need a little card that has your name on it and your picture and that you were fingerprinted and background checked, because that's an infringement. We don't need the NRA's stupid little class on how to carry a weapon or do whatever. I refuse to take it, so I have no idea what they do, and I really don't care. Because I feel like I have a Second Amendment right to protect myself in all cases, at any time. I could give a shit about your class.
Correct. So, after the conversation, I said, well, Marion, I wish you the best of luck in the future and all of your future endeavors with the NRA.
He said it exactly like that.
And I was like, and I hope you have a great day. And she says, click, hung up on me.
Now, I sent an email.
She wasn't very nice, by the way, even at the end when I was saying nice things. She hung up on me. Marion Hammer was very offended that I should be talking publicly about the Second Amendment.
I actually wrote an email to Marion Hammer because I had her private email address from some other things. And I, basically said that, I've gotten I've gotten word of an email that is completely inaccurate. The only people who publicly said anything about Wilton Simpson was me and Alex Snicker. We did it in our capacity as constituents, and I was very clinical about it. I'm asking at this time that you put out another email retracting your statements, or at least correcting the inaccuracies, that no organization has said anything to disparage Senator Simpson, that it was only Alexander Snicker and Danielle Alexandre.
Which, I mean, you can hold your breath for that one because that ain't going to happen.
Because that isn't going to happen. But that's what happened. That's the truth. That's what she should do if she was an honest person.
Yeah. So what did I do? I hung up the phone and immediately joined Gun Owners of America.
Yes.
And I made it public that I did that very thing. So what I wrote was, let me get back to the...
I actually, and while you're finding that, I actually screenshotted the email. Mel could send it to me, but I made sure that their name was redacted and things like that. Because I get stuff all the time that people are like, hey, did you see this? So I screenshotted it to where you wouldn't see their name and everything. And I actually posted the picture on our Facebook page and said this to Marion Hammer. Let me be clear to Marion Hammer and the NRA. Alex Snicker and Danielle Alexandre from the Liberty Underground show are the only ones that have publicly shown concern over Senator Wilton Simpson's commitment to the Second Amendment. We are not associated with any group working on this legislation. We are speaking as constituents of Senator Simpson's and not for any other group or organization. At this time, we are asking for a full retraction of her statements, or at the least, a statement clarifying that the people questioning Senator Simpson's commitment to the Second Amendment were his own constituents and not any other organization? Or is the truth not going to fit into Ms. Hammer's agenda?
No. And so what I wrote, as I said, and I put this specifically, update. After a lovely conversation with Marion Hammer with the NRA, I have now just joined Gun Owners of America. It seems to me that GOA is the only organization willing to stand up for the Second Amendment and understands that nullification is the proper remedy for an overreaching federal government. So I wrote that down there, said join the GOA. And since that time frame, we got the letter from them, and as of right now, neither Senator Simpson nor anyone else up in Tallahassee, any state senator up in Tallahassee, has put forward the bill for the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Now, remember,
Today's the deadline.
After today, you can't do it. So, and let's give the phone number again if you want to. If you happen to be on Senator Simpson's district,
and if you
want to call as a constituent,
let me restate what this bill would do. And then, like I said, it's only a few pages, so it's not very difficult to read. Senator Simpson, I'm sure, could read it very quickly. I read it in less than 10 minutes and understood it. So what this does would only limit the state of Florida from spending any state funds at any level of government to assist the federal government in any federal regulations that would infringe on your Second Amendment rights. You could still have background checks and everything else that could be mandated at the state level. This would only stop in assisting the federal government. So the federal government could do that in other states. If Georgia wanted to let them in and let them infringe on people's rights, Georgia could do that. It would only apply to Florida.
Yes.
So when Senator Wilton Simpson's office number is 850-487-5018.
Yeah, that's the number. Oh, say it again one more time.
850-487-5018.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If you call them up, again, you've heard the whole story, so you know what to say to these people, whatever excuse they give you. And the chief of staff her name is Rachel.
Yeah. And just so that anyone knows, and this is kind of so that you can be very specific with them so that there's no miscommunication. If any senator, including Senator Wilton Simpson, would like to sponsor the bill, the deadline is today, they would call Dave Merzen at Senator Greg Evers' office and just have the bill, that does have a bill draft number, transferred over to that senator. So Senator Wilton Simpson can call Dave Merzen's office. Dave Merzen at Senator Greg Evers' office and have the bill transferred as long as it gets done today.
Yeah. However, I am going under the assumption that it's not going to be done today. Because I don't believe, again, I know that the politicians in Tallahassee fear the NRA.
Yeah, we've been told that.
And we've been told that by representatives.
Current and former.
Current and former. So, here's the thing. First off, shame on the NRA. Shame on Marion Hammer for not supporting this piece of legislation. Shame on them for thinking that they have some kind of monopoly on talking to representatives when it comes to gun rights. Shame on them for utilizing the Second Amendment to spread fear amongst the people and to use it to make money for yourself. You got to remember, we're going up there. I called as a constituent. I didn't call as the host of the radio show. No, I happen to do those same things, but I'm allowed to call my representative as a constituent. I used my address, not a title. I was hoping they actually didn't even know who I was, so I could just
get the information and move on.
And hopefully get them to sign the damn thing.
Right.
However, I see now it's not going to happen. It's sad too, because the Second Amendment Preservation Act in and of itself is a pretty good bill. Mm-hmm. And they could have amended it and done other stuff to it like they did with the drone bill. They could have done other things. Yeah, and they would have. They're doing this because Marion Hammer's doing this because she's mad because somebody else called her and they didn't like her explanation on stuff and gave her a little bit of crap in the beginning, which probably they shouldn't have done. We told that person not to call the NRA at all because you didn't want to be on their radar because they don't support the Second Amendment. And if you'd listened to us to begin with, you'd have known that they didn't support the damn Second Amendment, so you shouldn't have called them.
I actually, and let's give a little history on this actual bill then, because we knew about it quite a while ago. A long time ago when it was first being worked on by some citizens down in another part of the state. I was asked if, to be on some of their conference calls, to do a little consulting on where they should go from here. So me, Francisco Rodriguez, John Hallman, there was a few of us that are, more familiar with the legislative process that all kind of consulted at first. I kind of, within a few weeks, said, I don't really feel like they're listening to to what we're saying. And honestly, I'm working on so much other legislation with some other organizations that I really don't have time to deal with this. The two subjects that I'm working on, I don't want one to kind of overshadow the other, or I don't want me working on that subject hurting my efforts on a different subject. So I'm really going to take a step back. I'm going to put this bill at arm's length, and I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to post about it. I'm really not going to do anything with it whatsoever. This week, when I saw them coming to the deadline, I thought one call to my own state rep, my state senator. That's the least I could do. I do believe in the bill. I've looked through the wording. I believe it's a great bill. And I do believe that any senator or representative that doesn't vote for this or sign on to this bill does not support the Second Amendment. That's truly my opinion. This is a good bill. So I have not done a lot of work on this. I've not done, anything really with it. I have known about it. I've known about it for a long time, but because of some other organizations that I'm working with on other legislation that we've talked about on air, I didn't want the two subjects to kind of commingle and really have kept it, kept a distance from this legislation.
Well, that's a good way of saying it. So we make this phone call. This is the response we get. Here's what I want right now. First off, I want Rachel, his chief of staff, at this point, considering here's the thing. I was going to go on the show Friday and do two things. If he'd have signed the bill, to be honest with you, I would have gone on air and said, Wilton Simpson signed the piece of legislation. Thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah.
And we'd have ended it there. You wouldn't even have heard the rest of this story.
It would have been a 10-minute little clip of, we've had our differences with Wilton Simpson, but at the end of the day, he did the right thing. He's a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. I commend his courageous, putting forward this bill when nobody else would. And I'd be giving him a lot of credit today. Even though I don't like him, even though I disagree with him severely on many issues, I would only be saying good things about Wilton Simpson this morning.
Yeah, even though and here's the thing, I wouldn't have said anything good other than I would have stated the fact that he signed
this bill.
I wouldn't even have thanked him.
I would have,
but you would have, and that's fine.
I think doing the right thing gets appreciation.
Yeah, and I got you. So
he did not do the right thing, by the way.
Yeah, so he could have done that, and that would have, in all essence, shut me up. Mm-hmm. However, he didn't do that. So here's what I want. First off, I want you to sign the bill. Right. And I don't want you to get somebody else to do it. I want you to do it now. So Wilton Simpson, you sign the bill. If you sign the bill, then I'll go on air and I will say, Wilton Simpson signed the bill, and we'll do exactly what he just said. But that's not going to be enough now at this point. I would personally like a phone call, and you know my number, from Rachel, his chief of staff, calling me to apologize for her rude behavior and for her to let me know that as a constituent, I'm allowed to call my senator whenever I want, and that in all reality, and what Rachel fails to understand, is that you work for me. It ain't the other way around. I don't work for you. You work for me. And I want a phone call from you, Rachel, saying that you understand, that you get through your skull, that you are an employee of mine. That's the phone call that I want. Now, here's the thing. If you don't do this, nothing really is going to happen to you.
No.
Nothing at all. Matter of fact, I'm not doing this as a ploy to run for office against you, because I got too much stuff going on to do that.
I'm not interested.
I'm not interested in running against you.
I will support whoever does run against you.
I will tell you this, though. You have a person who is a very pig-headed person who is now very motivated. Again, we were not on... Look, I don't like Wilton Simpson. I believe Wilton Simpson to be a bad person. I believe that he is, if you're looking... Again, we always talk about the establishment being this big monolithic thing that's somewhere else. It's nameless, faceless people that you don't know anything about. You know what? In Pasco County, I got a name and a face put on it. The name is Wilton Simpson, and he's up in Tallahassee, and he looks like the Walking Dead.
Well, and I don't know because I don't watch that show, but
he totally does. Go look at his picture. You'll know.
I'm getting it up right now.
I will say that this is not. I don't just disagree with Wilton Simpson on things that he does in office. Obviously, I disagree with the fact that he's had several, that he have state reps on his payroll that he
don't do anything.
That he can't even explain what they do. He uses lobbying firms who have relatives that are representatives. So, there's a big kind of incestuous relationship going on in Tallahassee that he has been a part of for many years. I believe that he's a shrewd business person. I believe he gets a very good return on investment when he buys a state representative. And I give him all the credit in the world for building up a very successful business because he has done that. I don't agree with some of the tactics he's used to do it. I believe that, he hasn't done everything the right way. And not only that, but in the political realm, I have dealt with candidates that he has talked to. And what they've told me, this is not someone that I feel is a very honorable person. I do not feel like Wilton Simpson is an honorable person because of the conversations that he has had with a few of my candidates that I have worked with and conversations that he's had with me. And I'm not going to go into the specifics on the air, but he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I have a personal knowing of things that go on behind the scenes. And because of that knowledge, I don't feel like Wilton Simpson is a good person.
Yeah, again, if you're looking for the establishment in Pasco County, you don't have to look any further than Wilton Simpson.
But he is a shrewd business person, and he is very intelligent in the business world. And I give him all the credit in the world for the empire that he has built, including buying state representatives.
And he really does look a lot like the actor David Morrissey, who plays the governor on The Walking Dead. I just looked it up, and you are right. It is uncanny.
Now, here's the other... Now,
you can tell I really don't watch that show when I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Let me just say it like this, too, though. Let me just say it like this. There's one other thing. I forgot to mention this. There is no ramifications for what you're going to... for your actions. Here's what it is. I either get, via email or via phone call, a written apology from Rachel.
Well, if it's a phone call, it won't be written. It'll just be a phone call apology.
Either a written email or a phone call apologizing for your actions. Or the next time I'm in Tallahassee, and again, I'm not threatening anything, I'm going to go to Senator Wilton Simpson's office, and I'm going to find Rachel, and I'm going to ask her personally, face to face, to apologize to me. And I'm also going to ask Senator Wilton Simpson what his intentions are when it comes to a lawsuit against something I've said on the radio. You got to remember this. There's a lot of people around here that may fear you.
I don't.
I'm
not one of them.
I'm too stupid to fear you. I'm too dumb. I'm just a cracker from Pasco County. That's all I am. I'm just a half redneck from Pasco County who wears cargo pants, camouflage color, every possible day I can wear them.
That's
who
a
wears
true
long sleeve shirts in the summer,
Yeah.
who probably butchers the English language better than anybody else I know. But I don't need to know a whole lot about the English language because I have Danielle, and she knows it perfectly.
And
well, except for earlier today.
Except for earlier today, where I couldn't read the thing. But and listen,
it's a hard word though.
It was hard because of the I's and the L's. They all blended in. So listen, at the end of the day, we're in Tallahassee. We're in Tallahassee very often. Generally, when we see Wilton Simpson, we kind of give the nod, like Wilton, and we walk past because I have nothing that I want to discuss with him.
We saw him when we were up in Tallahassee the last time
we were there,
and I said Senator Simpson.
And I said Wilton, and we walked past, and he nodded and did the little, "This is uncomfortable. I don't like you people, and you don't like me." So I mean, and we would have kept that very arm's length, tacit, not liking each other from afar relationship.
I don't like talking to him.
And that would have been perfectly fine with both of us and with him. But now that we know that when we call as constituents, we'll be treated with disdain, that relationship is going to change, and we're going to take a more hands-on approach to the representatives in our area, since not only is Wilton Simpson one of them, but he employs some of the others.
Yeah. We're going to treat you like your staff treats us. That's what we're going to do. We're going to treat you like you've treated us. And you want to threaten to sue me? You want to, you know what? Here's the thing. Bring it. You bring it. You bring it right now. You want to sue me off of something I said on the radio? You tell me one lie I told. You tell me one lie that I had told. We haven't told any lies. We've told the truth is what we've done. And I know how much the truth might anger someone like you. I know that the truth is something that you're like, oh, I don't really want it to be made public that I own two politicians. And it's not even a secret. It's not even a secret.
Everybody knows. It was in the Miami Herald.
It was in papers around the state. Here's the thing. Why don't you go on record now and tell everybody what they do for you? I know why you don't tell.
We're all still waiting.
Yeah. I know why you don't tell everybody what they do, because deep down you know exactly what it is that they do.
They consult for your best interest, but they're not consulting for you. They're not consulting to you. They're consulting for you in Tallahassee.
Yeah. So, again, you want the ball's in his court.
If we're wrong, and he can come up with a job description that makes sense, I'll absolutely retract my statements. The fact is that the Tampa Bay Times, the Miami Herald, several other news sources have asked Wilton Simpson point blank what Will Weatherford does, and he says, I don't know, consulting. And when they've asked Will Weatherford, the guy who's supposedly doing it, he says, well, I take care of some clients. And they say, which ones? He's like, well, there has been some. But he can't name any of them.
Yeah. Again, this is not, we're not making this up. This is what happened. It was in the paper, and you haven't sued the paper, and you didn't say that the paper was lying.
Or the paper's lucky you didn't sue him.
Yeah, or the paper's lucky you didn't sue him. Again, we're going to call it out like we see it. Again, we're not scared of you. We're not, and for the NRA,
I'm not scared of you either.
Yeah, we ain't scared of you either, NRA. Matter of fact, I am adjusting what I'm doing in life. And you don't even know this yet. I'm adjusting what I'm doing in life because I'm gonna make it my mission. Make it my mission in life that people in Tallahassee fear me more than they fear you. And I understand that you're gonna go, well, I've been up there for 40 years and I got a good relationship with these people.
40 years too much. 40 years of infringing on our Second Amendment rights, by the way.
You know what, lady? Your time is up too. Because the time that you're going to have to influence politicians is coming to an end. You might as well retire now, because it's going to take me a couple years. It really is. I understand, but in the time frame that in the past couple years, you know how you go through adjustments in your life. Look, I was going to be the politician and run as the politician and do that and affect change that way. And after the first run, with my family and we've really made a decision that I'm probably not going to be running for office, at least anytime soon in the foreseeable future. Maybe down the road, Mikey's in college and he's out. But
for our family, it just isn't right.
Yeah, it's not going to work right now, which frees me up to do other things, which I'll explain after the break. Matter of fact, we'll get into that in hour number 3 is what we're going to do. If you'd like to call the program, though, the number is 1-800-525-4032. The website is 1787network.com. We will be back after these messages.
This is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
At Auto Body Unlimited, they work with their hands and heart to provide outstanding high-quality work and customer service. They specialize in European automobile collision repair work and refinish. At Auto Body Unlimited, they bring your car up to manufacturer standards, or they will buy your car back. They have dedicated equipment and use the same processes and paint that you would get from the factory. At Auto Body Unlimited, they don't work for the insurance company, they work for you. Auto Body Unlimited is located at 1300 Sunset Point Road in Clearwater. Call 727-443-4041 or on the web at autobodyunlimited.com. Visit Auto Body Unlimited for all of your repair needs. They work for you. If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Don't be mistaken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken. I will not submit. I
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandre, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Clearwater, St. Petersburg, Tampa Bay. This is Alex Snicker, co-host Liberty Underground.
Hey, Trilby.
Hey, Trilby. And also in Trilby, Florida. Along with me is the Duchess of Doing Stuff, Trilby's favorite libertarian, Danielle Alexandre.
The list is growing.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's what?
All of
Hernando County,
and
Orange
Trilby.
County, and now Trilby.
And Trilby. Oh, yeah. You're popular everywhere.
Eventually, it will be true that you are everyone's favorite libertarian.
Yes, yes. How are you doing?
I'm getting there. I'm doing well, though.
That's good. The Prime Minister of the Sinister, Greg Evil Bowen. How are you doing, sir?
Great. How you doing?
Doing well. If you happen to miss the first hour of the show,
you missed a really good hour.
You did miss a really good hour. I would suggest that you go to 1787network.com and the YouTube stream. The YouTube will be up there for your viewing pleasure. But we're not going to go rehash what happened in hour number one. You have to go find it for yourself.
And honestly, you really want to go find it because it was a great story and a great hour, and you will laugh and be angry and laugh some more and then be angry again if you listen to it.
Correct. Correct. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll cats and dogs living together.
Mass hysteria.
All right. So let's get into the District 13 race. So in your immediate area, for the Tan Talk Radio listeners,
If you've been living under a rock, you may not know.
yes, that there is a special election that will be held on March 11th in District 13 for the next United States congressperson in this district.
Yes, and they would be filling in the vacancy left by the passing away of Representative Bill Young.
Yes, but they will be also back up for election right away after
In November.
In November. So
there was a debate this week.
There was a debate this week
Of all three of the candidates. It was not televised. And I'm telling you that because it was not televised because there was three candidates. One of them said, yes, I want my message out there. I want to reach the people, let them know that I'm here to, to talk about solutions and the issues. And that was the Libertarian Lucas Overby. The other two candidates were not a fan of televised debates. I believe Alex Sink was less of a fan than David Jolly. But it has been reported that both were not big proponents of having it televised, so the people in District 13 who couldn't be there, which by the way was just about everyone because it was a closed door function and it wasn't open to the public, you could not see it.
Correct. That's all correct, actually. Which goes to show you, just once again, that the people that are vying for that position, that two of the three that are vying for that position, would rather you not know where they stand on the issues other than on the attack ads that they've assaulted you with on the television.
And they've assaulted us with.
And
in Sarasota and Hillsborough County as well.
Hold on. And by the way, I don't live in the district.
Right.
I live in Pasco County. And I'm still getting assaulted by Sink and Jolly ads.
Yes.
I live in the district, and it's constant.
Yeah. This morning we actually had to turn off the TV because even Mikey was going, can we not watch the Alex Sink and David Jolly show anymore? And he actually thought that there were so many commercials that the TV show was David Jolly and Alex Sink, riddled in with some commercials of other things.
But we digress. So at this latest debate, the topic of immigration came up, and Alex Sink made the following statement: "We have a lot of employers over on the beaches that rely upon workers, and especially in this high growth environment, where are you going to get people to work to clean our hotel rooms or do our landscaping?"
It says clean our hotel rooms.
Then the Tampa Bay Times has gotten
They've misquoted it.
They misquoted it.
There is a video.
There is.
And what she says on the video is, who will we find to clean our hotel rooms and mow our lawns or do our landscaping?
Yes. Now, right now, the thing is this. Now, I'm reading the Tampa Bay Times article, and this is what the Tampa Bay Times wrote. In response to a question, Sink said immigration reform is important because, and we just gave the quote, Republicans took to Twitter to skewer her and circulated a video clip of Sink's comment, which some termed offensive.
It was offensive.
You got to turn the mic on in order to hear that. Because the mic didn't work, by the way.
She basically politely asked, but who's going to mow our lawns and clean our toilets?
Yeah. I mean, it was... listen, I will... literally, you know, when the Republicans do something stupid, I'm the first one to call them out. But I have to agree with the GOP on this one. It was a disgusting comment.
That's racist.
Absolutely.
Again, if it was a Republican that would have said, if the roles were reversed here and the Republicans would, and the Jolly would have said that, for the Tampa Bay Times, it would have been the first story up there, would have been major issues and headlines about how Jolly's racist and how, you know, his campaign's not calling back for comment or anything like that. But it was Alex Sink, and because the Tampa Bay Times wants to try to protect Alex Sink, they're like, well, some might have viewed that term offensive. No, you should have turned that. You look at that as offensive.
Everybody should find that offensive. Now, Sink's campaign manager, Ashley Walker, said in a written statement, "This selectively chosen clip misrepresents Alex's full statement, which emphasized her commitment to giving working people a chance to achieve the American dream." Okay, I've listened to the entire answer to the question, and nothing was taken out of context. Her entire answer from the end of the question was immigration reform is important in our country. It's one of the main agenda items of the Beaches Chamber of Commerce for obvious reasons. Because we have a lot of employers over on the beaches that rely upon workers, and especially in this high growth environment, where are you going to get people to work to clean our hotel rooms or do our landscaping? And we don't need to put those employers in the position of hiring undocumented and illegal workers. Making the assumption illegal and undocumented workers are the people who are cleaning out our hotel rooms and mowing our lawns only, that's all they do. And that we're not going to find anyone else if we don't have these people to mow the lawns and clean. And the reason why I pointed out because she makes it an us and them.
Right.
Who's going to clean out our hotel rooms, do our landscaping? Like, it's beneath her or anyone else to do that except illegal immigrants. I was so offended because of the wording she chose. Who's going to clean our hotel rooms? I'm sorry, Miss Singh, but you know what? I can clean up after myself. I can even mow my own lawn. If you can't, I feel bad for you, but you don't need to hire. There's plenty of people to hire. You don't have to hire one certain race or undocumented worker. There's lots of people who do that all over the country.
Now, and a little hat tip to Joe Jordan on this one. Because I wanted to, he mentioned something, and I wanted to say this. Something else that you want to take into consideration here, because the term carpetbagger was used.
I've been using it a lot.
Yeah,
accurately.
When it comes to Alex Sink. And a lot of times they're saying, well, she's not a carpetbagger. But we have a lot of employers over on beaches.
Over what?
Yeah, when you are from Pinellas, you would not use the term over on the beaches. That would be something that you would be using for if you were in Hillsborough County.
Like a Hillsborough County.
Right.
Yeah, where you're from.
Right, because you would say if you were from Hillsborough County, you'd say over on the beaches because they're not near you.
Yeah,
exactly.
But in Pinellas, the beaches are not only over the bridge, but they're before the bridge. They're all over because Pinellas County is basically surrounded by beaches.
Pinellas County is beach. You cannot drive any direction in Pinellas County other than north and not hit water within 20 minutes.
Right. So beaches surround the entire county, and then there's also a bridge that takes you to some more. But those aren't the only beaches in Pinellas County. They're everywhere. So, and Joe Jordan did point this out accurately. If you're in Pinellas County or know anything about Pinellas County, you would just say the beaches of the county or the beaches.
Right.
There is no over.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
So it just goes to show you that if you live in Pinellas County, again, this woman will not represent you. She's not there to represent you. She is there, like David Jolly's commercials say, she's there to represent the Obama agenda. There's no getting around that. And she's not going to bring Democrats and Republicans together no matter how many times she wants to go on a commercial and lie. She's not going to do that. She's there for two reasons. The Democratic special interests in the banking sector. She used to work for Bank of America, mind you. And she was actually the real big in charge of Bank of America. Wasn't like she was a teller, you know. And the second thing is that she's going to do whatever the Obama administration wants her to do, because that's who's paying for the ads to get her in the office.
Now, on the reverse side of that, the people voting, the people paying for all the Jolly Attack ads are the people that is the Republican establishment. The Karl Rove PAC has put in some money. I mean, people. Jeb Bush, John McCain has come out in support of him. So, just like Alex Sink on the Democrats say, Jolly is going to completely represent only the establishment of the GOP. And I have looked through his entire record as a lobbyist, and 90% of the lobbying firms, and I don't know it may not be exactly 90% because I haven't counted them all up and done the math, but the majority, and I mean a super majority, of the companies that he represented as a lobbyist were military contractors.
Yeah, that's it. Let's take a call real quick before we keep going down the road here. So, caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I got 5 hours in a row of sleep, so I'm feeling pretty fantastic, actually.
You won't even know what to do with yourself with 5 hours of sleep, Karina.
It's almost like too much sleep.
What did you call for?
I called to invite people that may want to come out to Black Friday tonight to wave signs for Lucas Overby.
What's the address?
And we're going to be in downtown Clearwater. We're gonna meet at the main library around 4:00.
The main library in Clearwater at 4:00.
Now, if you're from Pinellas County, you will know exactly what she's talking about.
Yes, yes.
The Alex Sink campaign will not.
Yes, they will not. So
and we're also having a picnic, like fundraiser with pulled pork sandwiches and lots of great food at Whiskey Depot tomorrow afternoon.
On Saturday, and that is off of Almerton, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what time does that start?
In between Starkey Road and Belcher.
And what time does that start?
2:00.
2:00. So today, 4:00, downtown Clearwater at the main library, starting at 4:00 for a sign wave. And also
Saturday, then we're going to hand out flyers to the people that are coming to Blast Friday.
Okay, and you're going to hand out flyers for people coming out to Blast Friday, which is a cool name, by the way, Blast Friday.
It is cool.
Just Blast Friday. That's a good time.
Blasted.
Yeah, I would think. I'm hoping fireworks will be there, because I do think that they need to keep
pyrotechnics.
Yeah, some kind of pyrotechnics. Maybe somebody that even puts a lighter up for a little while. I think I would be okay with it at this point.
Maybe even a sparkler.
I'll take a sparkler. Yes, please bring sparklers. and then Saturday, 2:00 at the Whiskey Depot, which is another cool name for a place, by the way. I gotta say, Whiskey Depot. It's a cool name.
We like whiskey.
I like whiskey, and I like depots. So the two things go together. 2:00. I'm going to try to make it there, but I don't think I'm going to, because I have another speaking engagement myself. Until 5. Until 5. But in order to make, I'm not going to tell you where that is, because you should go to Whiskey Depot. Not to be offensive to
but just if you're in Pinellas County,
I'll get into that one on hour number 3.
Yeah, if you're in Pinellas County, support Lucas Overby. Go out there, meet him, ask him all of your questions, all of your concerns. He definitely wants to talk to constituents and represent you instead of representing either the Republican or Democrat parties or special interests. He really is there to represent you. So tell him your concerns and go out and ask him some questions, because he'd be more than happy to answer them all for you. And even put them on TV. You can even YouTube it.
Yes, you can YouTube it. Is YouTube capable? Anything else, Karina?
Yeah, I did want to mention the first debate, and you guys were there for this one, when the medical marijuana issue was brought up. The only thing that Alex Sink was that she was accepting of it for her friends. That just kind of shocked me.
Right.
It's okay for her friends, but she doesn't want a constitutional amendment to have pot shops for
Yeah, that was her
Yeah,
answer.
that was almost exact wording, by the way.
Yeah, that was almost exact wording. She said, well, I have many friends who I think would benefit from it, so I would like to see them get it, but I don't want a pot shop on every corner.
That sounds exactly the way government's been running up to this point.
Yeah.
Me and my friends could get weed, but you guys, you're going to jail.
Yeah. You're going to be doing 3 to 5. All right. Anything else, Karina?
You guys are doing a fantastic job, and I'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon, Karina. One other thing I wanted to make sure that I mentioned as it related towards the Overby campaign. First off, I am a supporter. I go down there and help whenever I can. I am, I'm not an official member of the campaign per se. I don't have an official title, nor have I ever asked for one, nor do I want one. But not for any other reason than I just want the freedom to say whatever I want to be able to say and not have to.
And that doesn't affect negatively on the candidate because you're not officially with the campaign. You're
Correct.
an individual.
Correct. And when I go out and talk to people when I do volunteer in the capacity of helping out the campaign, then I stick to the campaign talking points. Mm-hmm. Now, and you got to remember, the campaign talking points is talk about solutions. Don't talk about the competition. That really is the campaign's talking points.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, to the T.
Yeah.
So, in that aspect, and to tell the truth, look, if asked the question, you tell the truth. Lucas has done a phenomenal job. He really has. He really has done a phenomenal job in this campaign. I got to give him all the credit. We don't know exactly what's going to happen on election day. I'm feeling very good right now, considering all the people in Pinellas County I've talked to and how many of them are voting for Lucas. And if you look at that, he's got a solid chance of not just doing well, but of actually, dare I say it, coming out the victor. And the Sink and the Jolly campaigns have done everything that they possibly could do in order to drive as many people to Lucas's campaign as they can with their assault of the negative ads.
It's almost like they're trying to lose.
Yeah. Well, now here's the thing. If you want my opinion on it, again, let me give you my opinion on what's going on in this race right now. David Jolly and Alex Sink have a plan. And their plan is to disgust so many people with these negative ads that they wanted to drive you away from the polls. Again, this isn't like they're not trying to set up a law to disenfranchise you, mind you. What they're trying to do is to make this so negative that the average citizen that is just like, I just want to live my life and I don't really care about politics and I need to survive and support my family. They're disgusted, and they don't want to go and vote because they didn't feel that there was another option besides, Alex Sink and David Jolly, which if it was just Sink and Jolly, it feels like a South Park episode, which I'm not going to go into why that is, but look up South Park and look up Vote or Die, I think is what it is, and you'll find the clips for it.
You want the clip?
Yeah. No.
Third hour. Now, I will provide. We do have the list, because we say that Lucas Overby has been really very interested in meeting with the constituents. He's done town halls all over the district. He's been very interested in talking to everybody, and making sure that he's out there, that you can ask him questions. Not the other candidates have not been as accessible to the constituents of Pinellas County.
They're not talking to constituents as a matter of policy.
Yeah. So
as a campaign strategy.
I actually have a list of all the ones that have been canceled because of one or both of the other people.
Yeah, go ahead and name those off real quick.
On January 5th, the Community Bible Baptist Church, Republicans John Bircher and Jolly attended the event with Overby attendant, but Republican Kathleen Peters and the Democrat did not show. And that would be Mark Bircher. The name is wrong here. On January 9th, the Immigration Reform Forum, Sink and Jolly were no-shows. The forum continued with only Overby, though a representative from the Sink campaign came to meet with Democratic groups an hour into the conference. On January 28th, the Clearwater Chamber of Commerce debate at Pinellas Realtors Association, Lucas Overby showed up, only to find out that the forum had already been canceled by Jolly and Sink. January 30th, and again on February 6th, the League of Women Voters and Suncoast Hospice, these groups tried to work around the other campaigns, making sure they could attend. Neither one of them showed up, so they were canceled. On February 13th, the St. Petersburg Chamber of Commerce conversation, Thursday 7:30 to 9:30 at the Eastern Hall, was also canceled. February 17th, Westminster Palms Forum. The Jolly campaign called last minute, said he couldn't make it. Sink had refused to go from the beginning. February 23rd, the Center Seniors Forum in Palm Harbor, Sink from the beginning said no. Then Jolly canceled his non-cancellation just 3 days ahead of time. So basically said, I'm not canceling, and then canceled at the end of the minute, at the last minute. So that one on February 23rd was also canceled. On February 26th, the Congregation of B'nai Israel in St. Petersburg was canceled due to the logistical issues, even though the group planned to host the forum with just Jolly and Overby if Sink did not respond. So Overby said, I'll be there. Sink said no. Jolly originally said yes, and then must have canceled because it was canceled. Anyways, that was on February 25th. Jolly also had committed to February 11th, which he then did show up to, only to say that Lucas Overby was smarter.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, as it stands as of February 27th, 2014, there was a total of 193,806 absentee ballots that were mailed out to the voters in this district. As of February 27th, 87,000 of those 87,254 of those ballots have been returned. That means that, I don't know the percentage there, but basically 42% of the Republicans have turned in their absentee ballots, 40% of the Democrats have returned their absentee ballots, and 19% of the others, which is all third parties and MPAs, have turned in their ballots.
Well, yeah, of all the ballots turned in, that's the percentage breakdown.
That's the percentage breakdown of those ballots that have been turned in.
Right.
Now, let me say something first off. I'm going to say something to each party, but I'm going to say something to the MPAs and the independents first. As it stands right now, you guys could, in essence, without any of the Democrats or the Republicans,
win this election.
The MPAs could win this election via the absentee ballots. Because if you take the 16,000 and the 43,000, that is giving you 59,000 votes. It's actually probably 60,000 ballots. If you're an MPA and you have an absentee ballot, turn that absentee ballot Lucas Overby. Turn it in right now, because as Danielle just explained, these people, David Jolly and Alex Sink, do not deserve your vote. They haven't earned your vote. But Lucas has earned your vote. And go and find your absentee ballot and make sure that you vote for Lucas Overby. Again, we only are explaining to you the truth. What you choose to do with this information is your business. But if you want to stop what is going on in politics today, if you want to affect that kind of change, if you really want to change politics forever, the only vote you have is Lucas Overby. It's the only vote you got. Because David Jolly and Alex Sink have run the prototypical establishment campaigns for
on
each
both
of
sides.
them. And they have insulted you. These two candidates are an insult to you, the voter. They refuse to show up to events. When they do, they won't put it on TV, and they'll close the doors on people. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to keep going on with what we're talking about with the District 13 race, and maybe we'll get lucky enough to we'll have Brandon give us a call. Again, if you want to call the program, though, the number is 1-800-525-4032. The website is 1787network.com. We'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
At Auto Body Unlimited, they work with their hands and heart to provide outstanding high-quality work and customer service. They specialize in European automobile collision repair work and refinish. At Auto Body Unlimited, they bring your car up to manufacturer standards, or they will buy your car back. They have dedicated equipment and use the same processes and paint that you would get from the factory. At Auto Body Unlimited, they don't work for the insurance company, they work for you. Auto Body Unlimited is located at 1300 Sunset Point Road in Clearwater. Call 727-443-4041 or on the web at autobodyunlimited.com. Visit Auto Body Unlimited for all of your repair needs. They work for you. If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground. On the line with us right now, which will be in a second, but I'll give a good lead up to give Greg enough time, is Brandon Jones.
Because Greg went like, oh, wait.
Oh, hang on a second. He's getting right to it. What is he doing? Oh, my gosh. No. Not
You
ready
got to
yet.
give me time to transfer the call, man.
You got to give me time to transfer that call, man. Sounded like a 60s jazz singer right there for a second. The cool cat, Brandon, ain't on the line yet.
He is now, though.
Oh, he is now. Let's talk to him now. Brandon, how are you doing, sir?
Doing very good. How is everyone?
If we were doing any better, they'd probably find a way to tax it and regulate
I'm
it.
sure they're looking for reasons
They
now.
might be looking for one now. So,
I'm sure there is a happiness tax bill in the Senate right now, sponsored by Lindsey Graham or John McCain.
yes, you will not be happy in this country. Brandon, before we get into stuff that was a little dispatch, I wanted to ask you, just for your own personal update for the District 13 race of things that you've saw. I don't know what you've seen this week or what you haven't seen this week, but what have you seen? What's your thoughts going into getting close to Election Day for this race in District 13?
Well, I wish I lived in Pinellas and I'd have more influence personally and be able to have more of a on-the-ground perspective. And we did post on your Facebook feed there. We are looking for a writer to help us cover politics. I think we're really lacking. It's just really hard to give it the ton of attention that it really does deserve. But I think everything is very well divided. My wife responded very much to the Tampa Tribune Sunday paper with giant photos of Jolly in sync in this little tiny wallet size off to the side photo of Mr. Overby. And it really just kind of shows where the media is and how they're going to handle things. I think that they really want that to come down to A or B. We were just listening to a radio show here recently that did mention the 13 race, and again, it was only David Jolly or Alex Sink. There was no mention of even the third party. We still have a long road to sow to have a third party included in the conversation, and as I've told you many times, I will support all the voices. I wish we had a constitutional candidate, I wish we had a green candidate, I wish we had more diversity, because I think we'd be able to better represent the people with the multitude of voices. So I do continue to wish him luck and hope he does well, and I really hope that the movement will continue to build on this and not look at it as a negative if he does not come out victorious.
Yes.
We noticed that article too. We were actually on our way out of town and we stopped at a gas station, and you could see it up top where you saw the two big pictures of them, and the actual small and off to the side picture of Lucas was under the fold.
Yeah, it's below the fold. It was below the fold, so it wasn't even that they just made it small. They made it smaller, and then if you just walked by, all you would see is Jolly and Sink, and you wouldn't see Lucas. And I actually, funny enough, I actually took the paper to the woman that was running this establishment at the time, and I said, "Hey, what do you know anything about this? About the political race or the race that's going on right now?" She said no, and then I explained to her, but I showed it to her, and it said, "Why do you think they did that?" Well, because they don't want you to know about that guy. Why is that? And that's the question you should be asking yourself. So I tried to mention that at the time that it happened. Now, on the Global Dispatch, though, what I see first thing is the Arizona Governor Jan Brewer vetoes that bill allowing businesses to refuse services based on religious beliefs. What is going on with this bill over there? I mean, not going on, but what was the gist about?
Well, the bill is a response to neighboring New Mexico, as well as other lawsuits in the country where you have religious individuals who have denied services. More particularly, you've had a florist and a baker and others that they don't want to do services for a gay service because it's against their beliefs. They've lost these lawsuits. Their businesses have been devastated. I think it was in Oregon where the one company was basically put out of business because of the amount of lawsuits. The attorney general got involved, started fining this per person that had lost their business because they would not service the gay wedding. And I think that this bill was meant to allow business owners more freedom and more flexibility to say no. Now, it was immediately met with a lot of harsh critics. Obviously, you had a lot of folks in Hollywood who spoke out against it, and ultimately you had a lot of pressure economically with Apple and the NFL. NFL is threatening to pull the Super Bowl, which just shows how powerful the NFL is when, it doesn't matter about the murderers or rapers as long as they can play football, but what if it's about gay marriage? They will be more than happy to on this bandwagon, ride the public opinion appropriate, and put pressure on Arizona and Jan Brewer to veto the bill.
What was your thoughts on the bill itself?
I don't understand why a gay person would want to go to a straight baker and he tells me that he doesn't want to do my service. Why I would sue that person and not just go to a different baker. But that's where we're at. We don't want to tolerate a difference of opinion. We want to make them suffer or put them out of business. I know there's a lot of disdain towards big companies that have voiced, let's say a traditional marriage stance by Chick-fil-A or Hobby Lobby are going through the same kind of backlash from the gay community. Likewise, there's conservatives that won't go near Starbucks. They have a very anti-gun stance. So those people won't buy Starbucks for those kinds of things. So I think that's the appropriate way to have a freedom of expression, a freedom of conscience, and allow America to be what it is, and that's great. It seems like we can't get over the hurdle of pressuring people who disagree through the court system, and that's kind of where this legislation, I think, was trying to put up some barriers to that, and it just failed miserably.
Now, hang on a second. I'm looking at Greg, and I think that Greg has another opinion on the matter, and I want to hear desperately what Greg has to say first, because this is probably going to be a good conversation overall. So, Greg, what is your because I seen your face there, and I want to hear what you want to say.
Oh, well, to me, the bill just sets us back to where we were before the civil rights movement. Just replace black with gay, and it puts us in the same place. You're not allowed to sit at this table because you're gay. You're not allowed to eat here because you're gay. You're not allowed to stay in this hotel because you're gay. That's all it does. It replace black with gay. That's all. It basically codifies allowing discrimination, and again, just on different terms rather than color of your skin. It's now your sexual orientation.
Okay, I'm actually in the middle of both of you, so this is really going to be fun. So I'm going to ask you a question first, Greg, and then I'm going to ask Brandon a question. The first question that I have for you, Greg, is that doesn't an establishment have the right to refuse service to anybody?
For any reason.
For any reason. Do you believe that an establishment does have that right?
Yeah.
Now, so based off of what because you just said yes to that, so doesn't an establishment have the right to refuse service to people if they for their mind, again, for any reason? So if that person was gay and they don't want to do work for that person, that they can say, I'm not going to go with your service. I'm not going to take your money and do the service because I don't agree with you with the way you live, being gay or whatever, right? Do they have the right to do that?
I'm not.
Again, you don't like it. You don't like it. I'm not asking you if you like it or not. I'm saying, do they have that right? Because the second question, Brandon's going to make you feel better. But just go ahead and say it first.
Yes, they have the right to.
Okay. Now, Brandon, after what you said, I got a question for you. Does the person who was refused service have the right to put his, not via the courts, mind you, but that has the right to expose the actions of that establishment in an effort to put them out of business?
Oh, absolutely, and I support the desire for them to make it as public as possible. And actually, I would go a step further with the race thing. It says, I'd rather know that's a neo-Nazi bar. I'd rather know this is an establishment that doesn't serve X, Y, or Z, so that I know that's who they are, and I will patronize who I appropriately want to patronize and avoid those that I do not. But using the government as a weapon to do that is where I disagree.
Okay, all right. And again, look, and I understand the funny thing about this one. I brought this up because I figured Greg was going to have that kind of response. So, the reason I like it though is because I think that it really puts libertarians and those that are like, well, look, we believe in freedom all around, and let's make sure we make it happen. It makes us have to explain what that means, like what freedom actually means, and it is the freedom to act like a jerk if you are act or like a homophobe or a bigot or a racist. It gives you the right to do that as long as you're not infringing on the rights of another. But remember that refusing service to someone is blocking allowed.
Access. Yeah, it's not blocking access to them eating at all restaurants. It's blocking access to your private, personal place. I would not.
That's where Greg might disagree with you, though.
I would not frequent a place that did business in any kind of discriminatory fashion. I personally would not incentivize them with my hard-earned dollars. Do I feel like they have the right to be jerks or to be bigoted or to have the convictions that they have? I believe that if they just don't like the color red, they have right to refuse service for anyone who's wearing red. Would I agree with it? No. Do I believe in their private property rights to do it? Yes. They're the ones that took the risk for the business. They're the ones that are on the hook. They're the ones that have their name on it to where they want the business to best represent their name, however they want their name represented, and they're taking all the financial risks and everything else. And as long as they're not getting bailouts or any kind of federal, public money to run their business, they have the right to refuse anyone for any reason. We as a civilization, as a society, also has the right to say that's not acceptable here and not incentivize them with our dollars.
But there's nothing.
Let me ask a question to your group. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
Go ahead, Greg.
There's nothing about being gay that infringes on your rights. So you have no right to infringe on theirs just because of who they are. And what you're doing is allowing a systemic discrimination to spread across the country to where it will be just like it was before. Yes, this business is an individual and they can make their choice, but every business in this town has made the individual choice that black people aren't welcome here. So black people would not get a meal, get a room. They could not do
Or they could
anything
open their own
within
place.
a certain town. You cannot expect people to do that. Sorry, go start your own town where we don't hate you.
No. I'm not saying start their. I'm not saying start their own town.
It's also ridiculous to make it incumbent on every individual to do such deep research into every product and everything they buy to know exactly where everyone stands, to where I have to figure out, do you discriminate between blacks and gays and Jews and Christians before I have to come buy a soda? That's ridiculous. Protecting the rights and liberties of the people is the reason we have the government. When people's rights are being infringed upon by telling them that they are not welcome to buy products and services because of the color of their skin or their sexual orientation, then we are infringing on their liberties as well. We are not protecting their liberties.
All right, we'll go with Brandon, then we'll go with Danielle. Go ahead, Brandon.
I wanted to know if, because I think the problem that I have with this argument and where Greg's coming from is it's the hyperbole that the left and the gay marriage supporters are having, and that is we're taking that the bill is, it's going to create this, let's go back to the 1960s mentality, and it takes us back to racism. And I completely don't see that. We have no evidence of that whatsoever. It's total hyperbole. But my question really is, I'm a gay, I'm a Christian. I run a photography business. I don't want to do the gay marriage. I just tell you, I'm sorry, this is against my beliefs. I don't want to do the gay marriage. That makes me a racist. I mean, that makes me a bigoted homophobe because I don't want to do a gay marriage. I don't believe in gay marriage. Because that's the cases that are behind this movement. Now, I'm not saying the bill is probably written correctly or whatever. It may be inappropriate, but why do we not want to support my rights to say, listen, that's not something that I want to do business in?
Go ahead, Danielle.
I also have a question because I look at, would you force someone to have those same people in their own home if they didn't want to invite them in for coffee?
No.
But wouldn't that be the same thing if it's your property either way?
No. Because a business and a private residence are two completely different things.
It's still private property either way.
It's the same argument as to whether corporations are people. Well, really, I mean, quite frankly, I mean,
if I buy a property here and say everyone in the neighborhood is welcome for coffee except for those two people because I don't agree with what they do, you would agree that I have the right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to open on the corner and say everyone in the neighborhood, please come visit me except for you two because I don't like your lifestyle, I wouldn't have the right to do that.
I'm not infringing on anybody's rights to get a cake or get their photography done by me not wanting to do it. That's why I have the problem with this concept is I'm not infringing on their rights because I don't want to be the one to do their photography or make their cake. So I don't understand, if I'm a cab driver and I say, no, let's go to that hyperbole and say, well, that's the issue. I'm sorry, you guys are a gay couple. You can't be making out in my cab. You got to get out. But I'm not telling them they can't ride in cabs. I'm not telling them they can't have a cake made or photography made. But if it's my business, I should be allowed to run it the way I want to. And if you don't like it, then don't buy my product.
It still sounds a lot to me like you can drink at a water fountain, just not my water fountain.
Well,
I'm sorry.
No, hey, Greg, no. Let me put it another way, Greg. I think that this might, maybe this. I don't know if it's going to soften it up or not. But you said that we would go back to the was. Is that one of the things that you mentioned when you were talking about is that we're going back to the way that it was. I would argue that we would never go back to the way that it was. And the reason why we wouldn't go back to the way that it was is because the solution to things like racism, the solutions to things like when it comes to gay people is actually a societal problem. And that as a society, over the course of time, is when those problems end up being solved because, next generations that don't have those same kinds of mentality come forward and they are advancing, society's agenda, or you want to call it that. It's a voluntary thing. It's not a thing. It's like racism. It's like, in 50 years ago, there was a lot more that was going on, but the youth now, they have a much different viewpoint on those things than the people then. So it takes generations to kind of move the ball forward, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. But it still comes down to the rights there and to the freedom there. Because is the person who's refusing service infringing on that other person's rights? Like, whose rights are really being violated there? Is it the person who is say, look, I'm a gay guy, I want you to make a cake with two men on it, and the guy goes, well, I'm not really into that kind of thing, so I don't really do that, so I'm going to refuse service. Is the guy that is the cake maker infringing on that guy's rights, as long as he is an individual just saying, look, I just don't make cakes for that? Or is it, or is that guy infringing on the gay person's rights? Or is the gay person who is like, well, you need to make a cake for me, and the guy's like, well, I'm really not going to do that kind of thing. No, I'm going to make you do that. Who's infringing on whose rights there? And again, it's not a comfortable answer, by the way.
Well, it's like a lot of issues. There is a balance of rights, and you have to find the best place where you can meet in the middle, where the least infringement on both people is happening.
But you don't. But you view, once somebody starts a business, though, like once somebody starts an establishment in a business, that they can't refuse the service to people. Then
I don't think they should be able to. Quite frankly,
okay.
I mean, not immediately. I have no problem with if you're being a jerk at a restaurant, you can be kicked out. But as soon as you walk in the door, just because you're black or just because you're flamboyantly homosexual, saying nope, we don't serve you, get out. Because here's the thing. All it takes is for all of those individuals, for all the cake bakers to go, I don't like gays, I'm not serving gays. Next thing you know, every cake baker in town does not serve gays. Gay people cannot get a cake.
I would move to that
argument. That argument holds absolutely no water at all, Greg, because there's no concept in today's society and the way things are structured that we would restrict a person opening a business to gay people. So the argument doesn't hold any water. And you also talked about a balance of rights. How can we have a balance of rights unless we have a police that's going to tell us which rights are okay, which rights are not? And this is, to me, you're overstepping. You're protecting a fictitious right to have someone have a right to a service, but not the owner of how they run their business. And they can have the right to the service anywhere else, just maybe not with that individual. And I know that this is not an easy thing we can, resolve in 20 minutes or so. And I know Rand Paul stepped in this when he was asked about civil rights a few years ago on MSNBC, because he's trying to argue the exact same thing. He supports the business's right to run the business as they want to. And it's a very sensitive topic.
But I have two things. Number one, if that were to happen in a whole city, were to say, all the bakers in that city were like, well, we don't serve this particular person, these particular type of people, and I don't care what type it is, black, white, gay, straight, whatever, everybody decides. Then in the neighboring town, there's a baker that's going to say, hey, there's a great opportunity for me to make some money there, because that's what freedom does. And the law doesn't stop the behavior. So you can force someone to bake a cake for someone that they are bigoted against. But that doesn't stop them from being bigoted. Now they're even more so. They're more so bigoted because you've used force, and passing that on to their children more fervently, with more vigor, because they felt forced to deal with someone that they didn't like. Laws that regulate your feelings on another group only prolongs those feelings from existing in society.
I'm not at all saying there should be a law about anyone's feelings. All I'm saying is that I don't have a problem with saying you're not allowed to refuse service to somebody based on the color of their skin, their sexual orientation, their sex, their religion, any of that. I don't agree with it. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not a libertarian because I don't believe that.
Hold on. No. This is a good conversation, brother. We're not going down that road. Honestly, this is a very touchy subject. Let me ask you another question, because there's something else. There's a different issue that came up. It's not one that was talked today, but I want to lay another example, because this is a real world example, though. There is a church that is in another state. I don't think it's this state, but it's in another state that does not want to marry a gay couple, and the gay couple is now gone to court and suing the church to, in all essence, force them to marry them in their church. Are they allowed to do? Do you think that lawsuit is right? Do you think that they're right in what they're doing there?
The church can decide to do what they want to do. There is an amendment that specifically states that the government cannot tell the church what to do, just like the church cannot tell us what to do. The church can marry whoever they want. They are allowed to hold whatever services they want to hold inside their church.
So are you saying there is a religious exemption to this?
for the churches themselves.
For the churches
Unfortunately, I don't necessarily agree with how exempt churches are from a lot of things, but
But you just said right now though that you don't think that the church should have to be forced to do that.
No, because I don't think a Catholic church should have to marry a Muslim couple, or that a Jewish church should have to marry a Christian couple.
So why is my church rights protected, but I as the individual are not protected?
But hold on, I'm sorry, Brandon. I hate to do this to you, but let me ask the question another way. But if you own a business and you have a religious connotation that's the same, that would just for the same reason that the church did it. If you're a business and you decided that you wanted to do it that way, what's the difference? And again, I'm asking the question, not accusing. No, what's the difference?
Your bakery is not a church.
Okay, fair enough. No, fair enough. So, but my viewpoint on it is it would not come into play there.
You are allowed to have personal feelings you want to have. Going back to Danielle's example, I'm not trying to legislate anyone's feelings. If you want to own a bar and you don't like black people, that's fine. You don't have to like black people. But if they walk in and want to spend money and buy a drink, you still need to serve them. That's what the Civil Rights Act did, and that's what we changed in this country. A long time ago, though, the people in this country made a decision that you are able to do business and operate and live in this country without being discriminated against, and you should be able to walk into any business and do business with them without being discriminated against on the color of your skin, your sex. And now, for some reason, because it's sexual orientation and because racism, it was just stupid and bigoted. Now, because they have a religious reason, they can point to a book and say, I have a religious reason for this discrimination and my bigotry. This should be allowed. Yeah. I don't agree with it.
Well, and just so
I think the problem is you're go ahead.
Yeah, and just so that you know, I'm not inconsistent. I don't believe in those civil rights acts either. And I do believe that those things do perpetuate hate, because when you force someone to go against their personal beliefs, against whatever group for any reason, you're making them more hateful, not less.
But let Brandon, go ahead.
The contradiction here is that Greg, you're trying to argue that there's no penalty, or that you believe there is no penalty. But the problem is there is a penalty. These people were put out of business. The states are finding them under discrimination laws and say, listen, you've got to make the cake, or we're going to fine you. We're going to put you out of business. And that's the problem. You get no freedom of conscience with how you run your business and privately run your business if the government decides this is now discrimination. So I understand what you're saying. I think that the ultimate freedom here is you judge those businesses and you say, I don't want to patronize this business because of X, Y, or Z. And everything else has been spoken in hyperbole, because it's all about a fear that we're going to go back to this thing. We hear this all the time with race. We hear this all the time with the civil rights. When we do this, we're going to go back to the 60s. And we hear Jim Crow references, all these different things. This is the exact same thing, but the bill's written in response to them putting people out of business because they didn't want to make a cake.
And then we got to. It's almost over, so the hour's up. But we're going to continue this in the second hour. Brandon, if you can stay on, I would definitely welcome you to stay on. But we got to get off of Tan Talk right now. The website 1787network.com, because I do have Walking Dead things that I would like to talk about, and Revolution as well. I did not realize that we would get into this one this long.
I can't play the closing music with Brandon on the line, though.
Oh, you can't play the. Oh, really?
No, because Skype takes over the audio.
All right, then we're just going to go ahead and keep going right till the end. 1787network.com is the website. Please go there for hour number 1 if you want to continue to hear this conversation. It will be on the YouTube for hour number 3. But we are going to continue this thing. You can take a break, though, right? Can you take a break?
No, you can't play
you can't.
As long as he's on Skype.
Oh, crap.
Brandon
will call.
All right, I'll hang up. I'll hang up and I'll call back.
All right, you hang up and call back. Thanks, Brandon. All right, we're going to take a break.
Right.
We're going to have hour number 3 coming in, because I do want to finish this conversation. I do enjoy it very much, and I think it was actually pretty good. Go ahead. Let's go to the break, and we'll be back. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Don't be mistaken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken. I will not submit to. I thought
This is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with camera. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
At Auto Body Unlimited, they work with their hands and heart to provide outstanding high-quality work and customer service. They specialize in European automobile collision repair work and refinish. At Auto Body Unlimited, they bring your car up to manufacturer standards, or they will buy your car back. They have dedicated equipment and use the same processes and paint that you would get from the factory. At Auto Body Unlimited, they don't work for the insurance company, they work for you. Auto Body Unlimited is located at 1300 Sunset Point Road in Clearwater. Call 727-443-4041 or on the web at autobodyunlimited.com. Visit Auto Body Unlimited for all of your repair needs. They work for you. If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 3, Liberty Underground. We're going to extend the conversation we were having with Brandon. And first off, thanks, Brandon, for being on the. I want to wait till he's on so I can thank him.
He can't hear you.
Because he can't hear me right now, so I'll wait till he's back on before I thank him. I'll wait till he's back on. So it's.
Okay, here we go.
Brandon, back on the air, hour number 3. First off, Brandon, thanks for extending the time. It was never known if you can always extend the time or not, but now we know that you can. We might have to do that again. And thanks for being on. I really do find this to be an engaging conversation, especially amongst 4 people that in all reality are people that are all on the same side. They all believe in liberty and freedom. To be honest with you, I think we're all on that page. And this is one of those subjects in which you like to flush out. Actually, I enjoy that.
Well, I actually think that we all come from the same place of wanting to protect someone's liberties. We're just, that protection gets where we disagree where the protection should be. Yeah.
But and maybe the problem is that I believe that the individual is more important than any collective. Whether it's a small business, large business, corporation, government, church, anything. The individual's rights are the most important.
But if an individual owns a business, then his rights are not there.
That individual is not having his rights infringed upon. The business is a different story. The business is a different entity. So it is not the individual.
Well, let's let Brandon back in here real quick. Brandon, go ahead with. I think we got you cut off a little bit before the end. Go ahead with the other point you were trying to make.
Well, I just wanted to say we do all agree, and I think the biggest problem here is that the government has muddied these waters, and that's why it's so complicated. Because now it's like we're even almost discussing the semantics of rights. An example that I could use is if I'm a nurse in a hospital and I don't believe in abortion, should I be forced to perform abortions? And in many states, this has kind of become a very heated topic as well, where your freedom of conscience is what comes into play. And I understand what Greg's saying, and I actually agree with Greg in many, many ways. The problem here is we're taking what instigated the bill, and we're losing sight of what it may potentially lead to, and we have no evidence that we would go in that direction. And I agree with Danielle's assessments on why we would not go in that direction, because our society is not even remotely comparable to 50 years ago. So it was a great topic of debate. I think it was a great bill that created a lot of discussion. We kept it as a headline a little bit, trying to keep that kind of stuff going, because I think it is a very interesting topic of discussion. And it's kind of a sad week that gay marriage had to dominate so many headlines. This was not the only story. We had the Texas bill that was struck down. We had other issues and comments made by Eric Holder. We had all sorts of things. It's kind of hard to believe that this is a topic that matters with all the multitude of issues that America is facing right now.
Well, you're absolutely right. But it is one of those things that I do think needs to be discussed, because I think that I think all of us get better at maybe a better understanding of society when we engage in this conversation, especially when it's, look, I've seen the back and forth that go on TV with these things, and the back and forth always seems to me to not be an honest conversation, where I think that all the four of us having a discussion about it lends itself to a much more of an honest conversation, because we're all friends here, we all respect one another, and I enjoy kind of engaging in this part of it. I'm going to let Greg, if there's any other points that you want to make, because I'm going to get to Brandon with movies, by the way, because I only wanted him to come back on for the movie stuff too. But any other final points that you wanted to make on this issue, Greg?
I don't know. Like I said,
and Danielle, you're next.
Like I said during the break, I didn't know we were going to get this deep into this conversation, so I was not prepared to have it, and I don't think I'm articulating myself all that well. But I think, like I said, the individual's rights are paramount. I see an individual as more important than any collective. And why is it incumbent on the individual to have to do the research and find who's discriminating and who's not, and who's going to be okay with me, but then the business doesn't have to do any of that? The business has the freedom to discriminate against anybody, but and the individual then has to figure out who it is that's not going to discriminate them. It seems backwards to me. It seems like we're giving the collectives the rights and putting more work on the individual. And I'm still probably not articulating this that well. But
I understand. Look, in a weird way, I understand your point. I just view the thing is, the one thing I would say to you is, let's say that you're a person that individually you're opposed to this, and but as an individual you're also going to be forced to service someone because you wanted to go out and make a buck because you wanted to start a business. It's almost like you lost some of but the way you're explaining it, it's almost like you lost some of those rights by being a business. But I understand the point you're making about businesses, like the Citizens United case, which was corporations are people. So I understand your point, though, and I'm like, but
let me ask you this, using the nurse example. So the nurse works for a hospital that performs abortions. Should the nurse be forced to perform an abortion? Or should the individual go to another hospital? Why isn't it reversed the other way? Why doesn't the nurse need to go find a job at a place that does not perform abortions, instead of preventing the individual coming there for the services that place provides being restricted from getting the service? Do you understand that? Does that make better sense?
Well, and I would agree with you that the nurse, being the individual, that the nurse would have to find. If
you work for a place that does abortions, you shouldn't work. You shouldn't be against abortions.
And that's you have a responsibility as an employee, just as you have a responsibility as a customer to frequent places that are aligned with your views. I don't want. I've left business. I've left employment in places where I didn't agree with their stance on something, and it didn't even have to be a civil rights issue or anything else. I've chosen as an individual that I don't want to be associated with a company who treats people in that manner, and I've left.
Hey, go ahead, Brandon.
I was just going to say, sadly, the problem is, again, the waters are too muddy. So the instance of the case that I was referring to is a case where it was a Catholic hospital. They don't do abortions. That's where she works. That's what she does. But they have a case where the abortion clinic was not up to standard. That's the real issue here. The issue is the standards of the clinic. The clinic's not up to standards. Now they have a mess on their hands. They run this woman to this hospital, and this is the situation that she's put into, where now she has to do the abortion because it's become a big mess, and that's what she has to do. But she didn't want to do it. And, become a big lawsuit issue, to become whatever, I shouldn't have been forced to have to do this. And that was where it happened. It wasn't an ideal situation where she worked at a hospital and just willy-nilly decided, oh, by the way, I don't want to do this anymore. We're seeing this more and more because what we're seeing with some of these hot topic issues like gay marriage and abortion, for instance, we're seeing that the movement is to break down all and any barriers to anyone that has any opposition to that. So you're seeing that with people that are coming out like Hobby Lobby. You're seeing that with, Obamacare, forces, contraception coverage, things that they don't believe in as a corporation. Why should the federal government force them to do it as a private company? So you're seeing, the private company, again, it's not a corporation. It's a lady that runs a bakery, says, I don't believe in gay marriage, whatever, I just make cakes. You come in, I'm not putting two guys on top of my cat. I put two women on. I don't do that. I'm sorry, just don't do that. I'm sorry, you have to go somewhere else. She gets run out of business because she doesn't allow to have that freedom of conscience anymore. So it's really kind of a sad state of where we are as a society, and I hate getting into the microcosm of this because we could spend 20, 30 minutes on each one of these, pulling back the layers.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, and that same baker, if they had an objection to if they don't make cakes that are sexually explicit, you wouldn't force them to do that. And I think that's, that as a business owner, you kind of have the right to say what your business owner, if you're in bachelor party, bachelorette party where they make cakes that are, not should be shown to children. If
you don't go into public and ask for that cake.
Hold on, we're not on Tan Talk, right?
Are you going to sue them to do that?
Yeah. Hold on. You better make me my dick cake.
So
sorry, I had to do it.
And what you'll say is, well, are you discriminating against people who are getting married? I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's always an excuse to say discrimination. If even in a case where someone was being loud, and their conversation was getting, was offensive to other customers, and you would agree that I could go to that person and say, you're talking very loudly, you're talking very offensively, you'll have to stop or you have to leave. That could be discrimination against people's freedom of speech. You can always make an argument of discrimination by taking, in any of these ways where a business owner is refusing service to someone.
Okay, I'm here to buy a cake. Are you here to make cakes and make money, or are you here to make a political statement? I just want to buy a cake. Do you want to sell me a cake, or are you making a political statement?
But if you want
That's
a cake,
really
I'm
what
sorry, it's not a political statement. If I don't approve of gay marriage, I'm not going to. I actually prefer the photography one better because that requires me to actually go to your service, and I don't agree with your service. The gay marriage, so therefore that's why I don't do those. I'm sorry, I just don't do those services. That's the one I actually prefer to use as a better analogy to express, because I agree with that one. That's the one that I agreed with the most, was the photographer. I take pictures of weddings, whatever. We'll come do our gay wedding. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't do those. I'm sorry, that's against my religion. But you're telling me that I can't do that because now you're going to say I'm discriminating against you. You file lawsuits and you basically put me out of business.
And that same photographer may not do bedroom photos.
All right. Well,
correct. I don't want to do nude. I don't want to do nude photos. I don't want to do these kinds of photos. So that's just what I do.
By the way, I am going to be looking after the show for an erotic bake maker, and I want to get some erotic. Some
I have a feeling
cakes.
me and Kelly are going to be seeing some.
I definitely want
bad cakes.
I'm looking for some bad cakes right now. I'm looking for a bad time. So we're going to move on. We're going to move on from this subject, however entertaining it was, to the movies or to TV shows. I do want to talk to you about The Walking Dead. everybody broke up. So they all kind of went their separate way. Not purposely went their separate ways, but after the whole attack from the governor, from Governor Simpson, from him, after all of that, then they kind of spread out. What are you noticing since they've all spread out, and what's going on in the show itself in The Walking Dead? Not to switch up on you real quick, but I kind of want to.
No, it's okay. I think we went through the same thing in season 2. We went through a very, very painful downtime where we get a lot of backstory on each character and what they're all going through. I think the Michonne part was very, very important to her character, and I think what we'll see at the end of this season, we really need to get more of the backstory of her pain and the loss of her child and some of the different things that were going on there. We had to bring Carol back into the group. That was inevitable as well, the tension there between her and Tyrese, because Tyrese doesn't know that she's the one that, murdered the two and they were in the prison that had the flu. I think you're going to see, as they'll run to be together. I think we also have the introduction now of 3 new characters. We at least had to have some preliminary introduction of those characters. I don't think people should be as pessimistic they are about those 3 characters yet. We've only had them for just a little bit. Give it a little bit of a ride. The writers have shown a good track record of how to weave these stories together and do it. It's hard because their setup and putting this together is so slow sometimes.
Yeah, I got to tell you though, I'm liking what is going on, and they've put something new there about if you're looking for safety, come to basically follow the train tracks. And I'm curious. The sanctuary. So I'm curious as to what that's going to be, and how everybody's going to get back together too, because it always seems weird of how they're able to actually get back together. That part kind of, I don't understand it. What I'd like to see, and I don't think they've ever done this, I'd literally like to see if they did an overview, on a map, of where these guys were in correlation with one another, to see how close they were. Because I'm telling you, they're probably not 10 miles apart.
Well, and that is kind of the point with the train tracks, because Rick and them did find the same area that the other group had already been on. So they're not very far apart. But let's face it, if I'm at, Falcon and 301 in Tampa, and you're 10 miles away near we still keep walking and never find each other. It seems on a TV show so hard to believe. And it's a little bit better than Revolution, because at least they're not walking in and up in a completely different country in like minutes. But it is a little bit frustrating that they're having a better plan, a better thought-through process of how to bring them together from a character standpoint. The writers have it all figured out, in my opinion, but I think that you sit there and you look at your TV and go, how are you people just this dumb? You survived, but how are you this dumb?
Yeah, no. I definitely understand. I understand that point on it. I really do. I thought it was good. And then the one guy who picks up a weapon and then just shoots the gas tank. What are you thinking there? I mean, this guy's going to save the world. He's the cure. Too bad I shoot gas tanks. I mean, what? Did you not watch? Do you not watch Walking Dead, Greg?
No. I do not.
I thought you liked zombie movies.
No, I used to like zombie movies back before it became trite and cliche.
Oh, you're like an old school Nirvana fan. What's wrong with you?
I like George Romero zombie movies.
I got you. I really enjoy The Walking Dead. I know that I'm the only one in my household that actually does, but
we actually leave the room when it
you
comes
guys they
on.
leave the room and stuff like that.
It's not even like a little oh, that's on, I'm not interested. We literally, Kelly gets up, I get up, we go out somewhere else. I mean, we leave the entire room.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Revolution. Now, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about Revolution right now and where that's going?
Well, I kind of wanted your opinion on what your thoughts were.
I'll give you mine.
Go ahead.
I'll give you mine. I actually like it. Now, what I'm not understanding on Revolution is where the Patriots and the Nanos are coming, how are they going to incorporate those two things? I know that they alluded to it because they were researching it, because they were looking for the people that knew about the nanotechnology, the nanobots or whatever. But what do they know, and why are they setting up the re-education camps and what's the goal, the nano part, in order to, how is that all going to come into play? That's the one thing that I didn't understand. And they've really now broken it off into 2 separate parts of the show. The one with the nano stuff, which I did think that and it's NBC, so you never can tell what's going on with this thing. But it was weird how they really, like, the one guy that was the other guy that helped them put the code together is now using it as a religion, and he's trying to get them to buy into, well, this is basically the same thing as God, so you should just fix the code in order to help them, which, if it was God, you wouldn't have to go in and write a new code, I don't think. I mean, I think that would be kind of tantamount to, it's going to work as long as you coded it right. So, I mean, God exists as long as you have the X and the Y in the right spot in your code, which I guess is kind of funny because you'd have to have the X and Y chromosome. Well, at any rate, why am I getting into this part? But that's my thoughts on it. I actually thoroughly enjoy the show, though. I think it's good. I love the characters that are on the show. I love the dynamic with what's the guy's name?
Bass.
The father, he just found his son.
Yeah, Bass.
Sebastian, yeah, Sebastian Monroe. Yeah, Sebastian Monroe. I love that part. And then you knew they were going to get out of the cage. You knew they weren't going to kill each other. You knew all that stuff. And the other thing is how literally these people are like the biggest badasses on the planet or in the country, and everybody knows about them. We got the great Sebastian Monroe, and everybody knows what a badass these guys are. And yet they still put them in the situations where they're able to get out of it. Well, like, it's kind of funny. Everybody
knows what a badass they are, but then when they come into a town, they can still walk in like nobody knows them.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden it's like, it's almost like Superman. When Superman wore the glasses, like somehow nobody knew that was Superman, and the second he took them off, it was like, oh, you're Superman.
It's like a combination of Superman and Batman, because then it becomes this Joker trap where they're hanging over the pit of sharks, and they've got an hour and a half to get their way out of there. Didn't take any of the tools off his belt or anything when we tied him up.
Somehow he still got the knife. What's your take on it, Brandon?
I think that the show sort of jumped the shark a little bit with the nanobots. Whenever we have him being able to control them, make people burst into flames, I think it's going to be a very hard recovery for people to kind of come back into reality with that a little bit. It's kind of gone a little too far for me. I'm not ruling out that I don't enjoy it. I enjoyed it more like it was just tech that got out of control, and not tech that somebody can, have this weird sort of possession of it. I don't like that aspect of it. I like the idea of the tech, but not that piece of it. I'm glad he made the Batman reference, because it's kind of like we live by the 1960s show where there's always like we put Batman and Robin in a death-defying scene, and then they suddenly always get away, and then we're always surprised that they got away. And you're right, it's like, how do you not know that this guy who basically was like Hitler, everybody knows who he is by his name, and everybody knows what he looks like. He walks into town, and, it has a lot of bad plot holes, but it's still an extremely entertaining show. And I really do hope that they do renew it for a third season.
Yeah, and I like the characters, by the way. I do enjoy the characters. I like the dynamic that they did there. There's a lot of stuff in there I like. Even the guy that is the one that his wife is now being held hostage. Like, he's such a scumbag, but how he got to the point that he was at, because he wasn't always like that. And the way that they kind of developed that character, and he's a good actor too. Like, these guys are and again, maybe it's just me, but I like the actors that are in this show. I want to see them doing more stuff. Like, I want to see them in other stuff now too. And there is some of it that's a little too, when they're like, we're in Georgia and we're going to walk to Mexico, and then 8 minutes they're like, okay, here we are. And we've met up with the people that we needed to find, even though we're an entire country and we have no way to know in that country where they are. Those are the little things that I'm kind of like, oh, come on, guys, really? Like, they don't even say, hey, let's all meet here at this time. They're just like, well, we'll find you as we're walking in the countryside through states.
Every show has these sort of plot hole loopholes, and the more apocalyptic it is, the more difficult it is to come up with believable scenarios. I mean, Walking Dead, Rick doesn't actually, sneak away to the woods because he has to do his business because there's no plumbing. You don't have the guy on Helix trying to explain that, hey, by the way, how are we going to have food because everything is contaminated because we have a virus that's breaking out. And there's all sorts of little plot holes and loopholes with each one of these, and it is sad because my wife struggles more the suspension of disbelief and allowing yourself to really enjoy the journey with the characters, and you get kind of caught up with some of these different things that can be distracting.
You know what? You're absolutely right. Go ahead, Greg.
That's why I don't get why Revolution has gone on so long and Jericho only lasted 2 seasons, because they did this so much better than Revolution is.
Oh, really? I never did watch Jericho.
Oh, Jericho was incredible. I love that.
Oh my gosh, the first season of Jericho is some of the best television that was ever written.
Absolutely.
Now, the last thing... Well,
the second season had a lot of issues, by the way, on Jericho, I'll say that. But the first season of Jericho is some of the best television you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about here, the last thing we're going to bring up is going to be another show that was out there called Homeland. Did you ever watch that show, Brandon?
Yes, I did. I'm not a addicted viewer. I am well aware with it. I love the cat and mouse thriller spy stuff that goes on with it. I think that sadly it becomes too much about her and her being a female, and then of course the relationship between her character Carrie and Brody, this terrorist. But I mean, I think it has a very good following. It's very good writers. Mandy Patinkin is fantastic. So I mean, I could just watch him just about anything.
Yeah, no. It was. I do like those kinds of shows, and I thought that one was. I like that character because the one guy that was the redheaded dude was the same from Band of Brothers. Yeah, and he was good in that too, though. I liked him in that.
Everybody was good in Band of Brothers.
Yeah, they were actually. All right, great. Hey, well, you know what, Brandon? I know we spent most of the main news story talking about the one thing, which I thought would end up being a good conversation. But we would definitely want to bring up the movie stuff because I do enjoy that very much. So, and I am looking forward to the.
We actually just talked about that. We didn't talk about movies. I think Noah's our number one story in the movie section right now because they're still trying to convince Christians that it's okay to go see Noah because Hollywood has not got a good track record, and the director that they hired for this began his first press conference by talking about how it wasn't a biblical movie. So I imagine why there could be some apprehension.
You mean they took a story out of the Bible and said it's not a story out of the Bible? Imagine that.
Yeah.
Well, they've backpedaled a little bit, and what he's really trying to say is, look, it's only 4 chapters. We have to embellish. We have to have some creative liberty. We've got to make a 2-hour movie out of this. And he's trying to, say that. And I think that's a very fair thing. He deserves a fair chance. Hollywood's trying to make a buck in the wake of the success of the Bible miniseries, which they spawned out. They have a movie coming out this week called Son of God. So it's just a topic that's out there, and it is a very interesting one as well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, his name is Brandon. The website is theglobaldispatch.com. Brandon, thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you today for sure, sir.
No problem. Thank you so much, guys. Remember, talk hard.
Talk hard. Nice. It was a good conversation, guys.
Yeah,
what's funny is that I almost am like the traffic cop in this one, to where like I'm kind of on the outside looking in on this thing, and I thought it was actually kind of funny on what was going on with everything that was happening, because I understand Greg's point of view. I do think that well, we're not going to get back into that one, but
why not?
Because we
have to call PPP.
Oh, we do got to call PPP
yes.
While he's getting ready to call PPP. What I want you to do is I want you to tell me the top 10 NSA pickup lines.
All right, this is funny actually. All right, so number 10. Baby, your Verizon phone isn't the only thing I want to tap. Number 9, I was going through your email and noticed you like cats too. Number 8, we understand you so much better than the guy you're with now.
Okay.
Number 7, girl, I can't wait to violate your privacy in real life.
Oh my God! All right, number 6.
Number 6. Hey, I've never met you, and this is crazy, but I stole your number, so answer, baby.
Next one.
Number 5. Hey, baby, what are you wearing? Just kidding, I'm watching you.
All right, keep going.
Number 4. I know exactly where you've been all my life. Number 3. Hey there, beautiful. Can I buy you a drink? Your last one night stand. Can I buy you the drink your last one night stand got you? Number 2. We had you at hello. And number 1. I like this one. Girl, you must have fallen from heaven because there is no tracking data to indicate how you arrived at this location.
Oh, man. Oh. NSA pickup lines at their best. NSA pickup lines have their best.
We're calling Dean.
All right, let's call. What's his name again?
Dean Debdom.
Dean
Dean
Debnam.
Debnam. I don't think we called last week, so.
We did. Yeah, we did.
On Tan
Not
Talk.
on Tan Talk, yeah.
Oh, we didn't on Tan Talk.
Yeah. No, the last time we were in here, we did that.
Yeah. Can they hear the ringing on air?
Yeah.
Okay. I swear to God, they know the number now. They're just not going to answer anymore.
Yeah.
I think they knew from the beginning. They haven't answered once.
They haven't.
Can't come to the phone right now. Please leave a message.
Hey, Dean, this is Alex Snicker. You're live on the air. Well, actually, you're not live on the air, but your answering machine is. Alex Snicker with the Liberty Underground Show, again giving you a call to ensure that the next time you have a poll in Florida for governor, that you include Adrian Wiley, the Libertarian candidate.
We just didn't want there to be any confusion that you weren't asked or that nobody had suggested Adrian Wiley, that you're very clear that people are suggesting you poll and include Adrian Wiley in your next poll in the Florida gubernatorial race.
Cheers. That's all I had for you.
Radio Network.
Facts about the red light camera.
Oh, what's going on?
Whoa.
We got stuff going on over
Music
there.
picked back up.
All right. You know what we should talk about next? Let's talk about the military thing next.
Okay.
That's a good thing to go down. Everybody's going to agree on that one. Let's get back to a topic we all agree on.
Let's find some common ground.
Yeah, let's find some common ground again. So Hagel comes out.
Yeah.
And when he comes out, he talks about how they're going to have to reduce troop levels, and they're going to have to, try to rein back in, the war. He basically was saying that the wars are over, or they converted to drones. But for his words, he said that the wars were over, and that what we need to do now is we need to scale back the troop levels that we currently have,
Right.
and stuff along those lines.
Yeah, and basically he's pulling it back to, I think, the estimate is by the end we would have 400,000 troops on the ready.
Yeah, 400,000 troops. No, 400,000 just in the Army, though.
Yeah, this is just the Army.
Yeah, this doesn't include Marine Corps, Air Force, and the Navy. It's just the Army, is they're moving the troop levels down in the Army. And I don't think that they talked about moving the troop levels down in the other services.
No. This would only bring down the Army from 522,000 to 440,000 active troops.
Yeah, that's what it would bring up. And they're also getting rid of the I think it was the A-10 Warthog.
Yeah.
Which was a good plane. It was not a bad plane. I think it was a pretty good plane overall. And
there would be one aircraft carrier that's going to be retired. There's going to be, a few things that were going to be retired. Some of the technology, and and you have to understand, we'd only be dropping 82,000 troops total.
And that's over. It's not instant either, right?
Right. That's actually over several years. So, I mean, this would be a preview of this is the 2015 budget, where it reduces the size, we'll reduce it by about 80,000 troops. That would be kind of, and it would be over that year, but it would be over time in that year. So by the end of the 2015-2016 budget, so you're looking at by the end of 2016-ish, you'd see the Army, and this is only the Army, would be brought down to 440,000 troops instead of the current 522,000.
Yeah. Now,
keep in mind, U.S. military has almost 1.5 million active military members
between all the branches.
Right.
We're only talking about one.
Yeah, they're only talking about the Army,
the biggest one.
Now, I'm very glad that this came up, and it came up when it did, and the reason why is, there's nothing I like better when neocons have to expose themselves for being the neocons that they are.
Yes.
And what you saw for this is neocons going right back in line with their little neocon ways.
Right.
And what it is to say that, we're going to, what are some of the things that, go ahead, if you got some quotes or some stuff like that, I want to make sure we're exactly quoting these despicable human beings.
Dick Cheney went on the Fox News channel to say that Barack Obama would rather spend the money on food stamps than on keeping America strong.
Here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that Dick Cheney, in essence, that Barack Obama would rather spend the money on food stamps than on the military. That might even be true. But Obama's not calling for a cut.
Right. This is actually Chuck Hagel.
So Chuck Hagel said it, not Obama, you dumbass.
Yeah. And in all honesty, if we're going to spend taxpayer dollars, which I believe everybody should keep all of the money that they make and spend it accordingly. But if you're going to steal money from the people and redistribute it, I would believe that it may be a better return on investment to keep the dollars here at home and feed people than to destroy third world countries.
Not just that. Here's the thing. Again, what they try to do, what guys like, and Hannity was doing this, because he's bringing out his neocon roots again, and other radio hosts are out there doing the same thing when they're talking about how Obama's weakening the military, and this is the weakest the military's ever been. One of the reasons that this military is not necessarily as strong as it could be was because of you guys put us in 2 wars, and now the suicide rate in the military is the highest it's ever been. Right. So let's get into the real discussion as to what the problem is before we go down they're spending too much. We're going to be cutting troop levels. The thing that we should be doing is looking to cut not only troop levels, but to get rid of these the ones that waste a despicable amount of money. The programs that waste a lot of money, we should be trying to get rid of a lot of those things. Because as of right now, even if the cuts were to come in, which are no cuts, they're just cuts to the increase, we spend more money on our military than like the top 15 countries combined. And in order to get to in order to get to the numbers that we would need to get to for troop levels before that, again, if they cut a third of it, you'd get back to like 01 spending levels for military. Like that's what you'd get to. You wouldn't get to these big, huge numbers for military spending normally unless people would. I mean, it's unbelievable that you guys have the gall to come out and say, "Well, we're gonna ruin this country. China's gonna come and invade us." Nobody's gonna come and invade us. Nobody. Well, we're not gonna be able to say what happens in Ukraine. We shouldn't. It ain't our freaking country, you dumbasses. Well, what about Syria? It ain't our business. The problem is that we need to start understanding what the founders of this country, Dick Cheney, what the Constitution says, Dick Cheney, you evil son of a bitch. And the thing is this, it's called free trade with all, entangling alliances with none. It's a non-interventionist foreign policy. The only people that act like isolationists are people like you. You're the isolationist. Hannity's the isolationist. You know why? Because you think that you can tell other countries what to do, and you blockade them if they don't listen. That's what you do. Well, you blame America first. No, I actually love America. I blame the neocons first because this shit is your fault. We've been in perpetual war because of your dumbasses, not because of anything else. It's been your mentality, who actually was friends with Saddam Hussein, who was actually friends with Osama bin Laden, who gave those people the tools and the training that they needed to eventually attack us. You're the ones that funded Iran. You're the ones that funded Iraq. I wouldn't have given them any weapons. Iran-Contra, you remember that shit, you bastards? You guys are the ones that have done this shit. So don't come out here and try to pop your little neocon head back up after we severely beat it the fuck down earlier. Because as everybody knows, that your way's not the way, and guys like Hannity who want to be a goddamn chameleon and go out there and go, well, I'm really more of a libertarian strain of what's going on here, until we try to cut one dime off the damn military, and then those neocon horns come back up like Beelzebub.
And just so that we can put this into context, this would bring the number of Army troops to pre-1940 levels. But that wouldn't exactly mean that we weren't strong on defense. We would still have 11 aircraft carrier groups, which is far ahead of Russia and China, which have one each. One, and not even at the same level as ours. We'd still have 11 to 1. We would still have our nuclear triad of bombers, submarines, and missiles. They would all remain intact. Some new projects, like the $400 billion F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, would still keep rolling. It would just be a little slower to get into the hands of the military. But all of this technology is still going to be there. it was already scheduled for our troops to go down to 490,000. That was already on the schedule for this year and the beginning of next. This only brings it down another 30,000 or another 70. No, 70? No, that would be another 50,000 from there.
Out of 1 million.
1.5 million.
1.5 million. What's your again, it's this whole fear mongering of, well, we're going to, Obama's the worst president in the world. I'd agree with you there that he's the worst president in the world, but it ain't because of this. The problem is that Obama's still a hawk anyway. He's been drone bombing people like it's going out of style. He's killed American citizens with the drone bombs. So you can't even call him weak. He uses the drones. You guys that's your forte now. I understand you want to keep troop levels at a certain level. You're dumb for wanting to do it. Here's the thing. Close down some of the bases overseas. You don't want to affect the American people when it comes to this. I understand. So move every damn troop home. Because they're spending so much money in Germany and in Japan, just their personal dollars. They're spending tons of that money here. Don't close a base down in America right now. Fine. Close every one of the goddamn ones overseas down, though. Every stinking one of them. Close down everything in Germany, everything in Japan, everything you got in Afghanistan, everything you got in Iraq, and come home. Bring them home now. I'm not going to allow you ignorant, evil neocons to try to hijack what's currently going on right now because you think that you're somehow more patriotic than everybody else is. Well, here's something. You are un-American for your activities. You are un-American for what you propose to do. You are un-American for getting more troops maimed, killed, and injured because you like working for the big industrial super complex or whatever one you call the evil bastards that pay your salary, that give you your 30 pieces of silver, and yes, it's a biblical reference that I'm using correctly, in order for you to advocate for the policies that you're advocating for. You are not patriots. You are evil bastards. And at the minimum, we should hold trials for what you've done and see if we can actually throw you under the jail for the crap you've pulled that has turned this country into what we have today. I despise you people. You are not on our side. You are not. This is why I don't like dealing with a lot of these Republicans for the same reason. Because you neocon warmongers have done this to this country. You have put us in the position where we got a damn Marxist in the White House in Barack Obama who's able to get away with the shit that he's able to get away with because you people screwed the pooch when you were in charge. You screwed the pooch. And it's like, well, we got to get the Republicans back. Why? So they can go bomb more people and spend more money? Because the last time we had you people in charge, that's what you did. That's exactly what you did. There's no getting around that. You put a Medicare Part D plan in there that sucked, and you started this damn crap for Common Core anyway. You guys are the ones that did all this crap, so don't call me crazy because somehow I don't believe you that you actually believe in limited government. And every time David Jolly says liberty, somebody dies. Somebody dies on the inside when somebody says that, because that little neocon bastard who was working directly for the military-industrial complex, which is exactly what he was doing, is part of the problem. You people are part of the problem. There is no spoon. There is no we in the Republican Party. There is none of that. Rand Paul is a minority still, and Ted Cruz is a damn neocon hiding. He's like what Handy's doing right now, trying to hide. He's like, well, I know the country's going a certain direction right now, so let me go ahead and hide my neocon roots. Maybe I can still remain topical and then get back up and sneak attack like Beck did. You people make me sick. Sorry.
I do have to say that the Cato Institute came out and said that this is a few steps in the right direction, but that we still need more. There's been a lot of talk about MacDill and how this would affect, because in Tampa we have Central Command, we have MacDill Air Force Base. Now, this would actually make some cuts because there is going to be some, I forget the word that they use, basically almost like a recommissioning of some of the things that go on throughout all the bases. But we also have to understand that in the last decade, there has been a significant expansion of MacDill. Mm-hmm. So we're not cutting, we're not making these huge cuts. We're only bringing back some of the expansion that has happened. So, it's really disingenuous to kind of be like, oh, well, they're, gutting Central Command. Because, number one, there's only some restructuring going on. Most of the operating costs are still going to be there. They've only reduced it by a small amount. And they're really only bringing it reining it back in, because the expansion that's happened at MacDill Air Force Base was tremendous. I mean, it was a huge expansion.
Yeah.
Because we were in all of these on-the-ground wars. At some point, either we're going to stay in perpetual war, or we're going to not and have to shrink these back down. So you either have on one side, well, we can't do anything to MacDill Air Force Base. Well, that means you want to stay in war.
Yeah.
You either want to bomb every Middle Eastern country around so that you can have MacDill Air Force Base, or you understand that as we end war, which we should, that these things don't need to be this big. We don't need it. We don't need it now because we don't need to be in war. Nobody's attacking us.
Well, let's bring this back around to our big root problem. Last night they were talking about this on the local news, and they talked to I forget exactly what her title is. Basically, she's somebody who helps the military people find housing. She doesn't work for the military. It's
like a liaison kind of position.
Yeah, she's like a realtor kind of person, but she helps people find housing in the Tampa Bay area, and she works with a lot of active military who are stationed at MacDill and helping them find housing. And what they're saying as part of these cuts is the housing allowances for the troops are going to be cut. And what she was saying the issue is say that your housing allowance as a soldier is $1,400, and none of the places around MacDill Air Force Base can you live in for $1,400 a month. So you have to go outside of the city. You have to go to Brandon or somewhere where you can find affordable housing on your housing allowance. So then it adds on to your cost because you're driving so far every day. So she's talking about how it's going to put the burden on the soldiers more than anybody. But again, she's totally missing the big point that it's because your money isn't worth anything that this is an issue. So let's bring it back to the main issue that every single day your dollars in your pocket are worth less. And that housing allowance, that $1,400,
that
should be just fine for anyone in this country. Anyone in the United States should be able to have a home to live in on $1,400 a month, especially a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
So if the problem is that $1,400 a month isn't getting you housing, it's not the cuts to the military funding that we need to look at. It's the cuts to the value of our dollar that we need to look at and get control of our monetary policy so the soldiers can actually have valuable money.
And what happens is whoever's in charge of these budgets, and we know this. I mean, we've seen the internal documents that happens where they intentionally make it as painful as possible on the segment of their business that people will outcry for. So, and this happens in the military. Let's make it as painful as possible for the soldiers because the people of the country won't stand for that. So then they'll make sure that we keep spending up because they don't want to hurt the soldiers. So we actually parade the soldiers out there like political capital so that you won't complain when the government takes more money from you because it's for the soldiers, when what they're not telling you is that they could have cut the budget on 10 other things that wouldn't affect the soldiers. But they chose not to because if they cut those things, you wouldn't be upset about it.
Correct. And that's the rub of the whole thing, by the way. You want to talk about who really is pro-troop and who's anti-troop. Let's go ahead and have that conversation right now as well. Is it pro-troop or anti-troop to say that I want to make sure that if we're going to send our military out, that we do the constitutionally correct thing and declare war, and then to go in there with an SOP, with marching orders, whatever you want to. There's a better word I want to use, but with the marching orders of go in there, shoot to kill, shoot everything that you can possibly shoot until we stop declaring war, or until the other country is surrendered. To make sure that anybody that's hurt or injured is given the full medical treatment and is made sure that they're made whole and made taken care of as whole as possible. I mean, if you're missing a leg, it ain't like we can grow you another leg. I mean, we can give you prosthetics and all that stuff, but that's just it's a fix to a problem that nobody can solve because we can't regrow legs yet. to make sure that those troops are taken care of, to make sure that they have all the medical attention that they need, and that we as a society, as a country, are paying for that. That if you serve your time, that you are going to be taken care of, basically. But that we as a country are making policy that ensures that in order for you to have to risk your life, that it was worth it every time. Mm-hmm. And that we're cutting the programs that won't hurt you as the soldier, but we're getting rid of the redundancy and stuff. And again, there's things that I know of when it comes to this that are not things of common knowledge necessarily, because there's a gentleman that I know that actually tried to show the Pentagon ways in which they could actually save money by getting rid of redundancies, that they actually did a specific plan that showed specific things that the military could do, and that they said not only did they say no to the contract, they fired the guy that actually brought it up.
Because we know that person.
Because we know that person. Mm-hmm. And that you send troops out like cannon fodder with horrible rules of engagement. Rules of engagement, that's the word I was looking for. That gets people killed because you can't do what they're trying to do when it comes to that. Who's really pro-troop and who's anti-troop?
And that's the thing is, I 100% support our troops to the point where I want to make sure that if any one American life is spent, it is for absolute necessary reasons.
Yeah. And another thing is this, too. And this is the difference between Dick Cheney and Marco Rubio and a lot of other guys that are the chicken hawk neocons. I actually served the military. I actually enlisted in the Marine Corps. I was actually in the Marine Corps for 8 years. So I was actually a member of our armed services as an enlisted man. Unlike Dick Cheney, who, all of a sudden it was more important that he did other things during Vietnam when he was supposed to go to war than to actually go to war. Or Marco Rubio, who was too busy collecting paychecks from other, to be a politician than to actually go to war and defend this country. Who's actually the ones that... I put my life on the line. I already did that, and I did that for the freedom of speech. I did that, one, because I love this country, but also because I have the ability that I wanted to make sure that our country was defended, and I actually thought that our elected officials believed the same thing. Now I know the truth, and I realize that everything that they've been doing up there in Washington, D.C. has gotten troops killed very unnecessarily. They've really ruined a whole lot of stuff going on in this country, and they did that for their own personal financial benefit. And they'll mix it up, and I support the troops, and I'll do this, and I'll go attend their funerals and stand on their graves as I go ahead and do this. And anybody that disagrees with me is un-American. Well, you know what? The only un-American ones that I know of is Marco Rubio and Lindsey Graham and John McCain. And, well, you got to give it to John McCain. At least he did serve. So I'll give it to him for that.
Yeah, he was a POW.
Sugar-ass Lindsey Graham didn't serve because they really didn't allow gays in the military at that time. But we fixed that now. So, Lindsey, you can go back in if you want to. If you want to go there. But you're not going to because you're a chicken hawk. The problem is you people are cowards. That's the real deal, is that you want to use the military to inflate your small penis ego. So
well, and just because you mentioned this before,
you like small penis ego now.
I love that.
You can use that.
We mentioned this before with David Jolly. When you look at for everyone that's looked at the District 13 race and said, well, David Jolly is good on this, or we can't have Alex Sink in there. Let's remember where he got all his money. He got his money lobbying for more war, and that is where almost all of his money came from. He lobbied for contractors that were incentivized to keep war going because that's how they made their money. And he was incentivized to keep war going because that's how he made his money. So you don't think that those are the people that are behind him, that's how he looks at Washington, D.C. as business as usual? Everybody's like, well, he has experience. He's been up there. Yeah, he's been up there making sure that our troops stay in harm's way over and over and over and over again for 25 years. He has made sure that the incentive is there to keep us at war. That's not who I want to represent me. That's not someone that I want in Congress. I want to get rid of those people in Congress.
Yeah, and I view that evil as big as the evil of Alex Sink.
Right.
In some ways, I view it as bigger.
I actually do view it as bigger. My one on a federal candidate, either Senate or president or Congress, my number one is if you want to keep perpetual war, I don't care who's up against you, they're better.
Unfortunately, it's also why he's very likely to win, because the work that Bill Young did was to bring all of these military-industrial complex businesses into Congressional District 13. Congressional District 13 is full of military contractors.
Raytheon, Halliburton, they're all here.
Tons of them. There are tons of them. So the number of employees that they employ in Congressional District 13, the amount of money that lives in our economy in Congressional District 13 because of that, it's going to make it real tough to convince these people that have a job because of what he's done that they shouldn't vote for him, because that's their bread and butter.
Well, war is profitable.
Yeah, absolutely.
War's a racket.
It is a racket.
It is a racket.
You know, here's the thing. Let's talk about that. 3 minutes left. Oh crap, man! I can't believe we've already gone through the show.
I know.
War is a Racket was a book that was written by Smedley Butler.
Yes.
Smedley Butler is the highest decorated Marine in the history of the Marine Corps. The highest decorated one. And you know what he thinks about war? Is that it's a racket. And that it's made to... And again, go find the book. I think you can even get it online for free.
Yeah.
War is a Racket. Go look at the book up. Again, guys, I appreciate the show. I hope you enjoyed... the angry rantings that I did not know these things were going to happen, actually.
We didn't get to, I have a whole board full of show prep that we didn't get to almost anything on.
Ukraine, we kind of talked about. Bitcoin, we didn't talk about.
No, we didn't talk about the Ukraine at all.
We mentioned it. I mentioned it in a rant.
Oh, gosh, because you said the word Ukraine?
I did mention it in a rant, though.
I said we had more 11-1 aircraft carriers against Russia. So, I guess we went into the story.
Yeah.
Here's a great quote real quick from that book. War is a racket. It always has been. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one in international scope. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses of lives.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Website again, 1787network.com. Please take a look at that website. It is has chock full of information that you need to know. And we will, I guess we'll see you guys next week.
On Wednesday night and then next week.
Yeah, on Wednesday night next week. And we will have a new NRA update. We're going to go more into the NRA next week and why you should not support that organization.
Right.
And why they're not a pro-Second Amendment organization. And we'll give you a Wilton Simpson update just because, well, I don't like getting threatened to being sued. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
I'll be